The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Morning, y'all. Welcome back from a long 4th of July weekend. Independence Day, such a great weekend. We laid low, didn't do much of nothing. I tell you, man, I had a head cold all weekend, so I didn't do much of anything.
Then it was exactly what you needed.
Yeah, exactly, which was nothing.
To lay low and do nothing.
And that's what we did. But it was good to see America feel like America. It felt like the first 4th of July that I can remember where people were out and they were proud to be in America. They were waving the red, white, and blue. They were out. Because we eased down to downtown Alpharetta just to see the fireworks. Sat in front, if you know out downtown Alpharetta at all, right in front of the Innovation Academy, that beautiful brick school that they built. It's kind of like a STEM school. And we sat in front of it and watched the Wills Park fireworks. But people are singing along and singing "God Bless America." I mean, it was a cool experience.
I typically head to Huntsville, Alabama, every single July 4th. My father-in-law, as we lovingly call him, G.I. Jeff, a guy who worked for the U.S. Army for 35 years, and he's since retired. He was Redstone Arsenal, and his son works for the government, and his other son works for the government. But they're actually with defense contract firms. Like, they're the people that build our missiles. Okay, like that's the sort of family that it is. And so when we're in Huntsville, Alabama, and you're in the neighborhood you're in, most of it's either NASA or military. So their July 4th is completely different from the rest of the world. When the rest of the world is telling you all about George Floyd, they're like, no, America. Yeah. So I've always retreated there. So it was no different to me, but it did feel a little bit extra this time around.
Yeah, it did. I think that's, obviously the Donald Trump influence. And it felt good, dude. Even though I didn't feel great, it felt good to see that. It felt, because it really just solidified what we've been talking about since January, that people genuinely care about America. They love the country. They've been in seclusion for a while because you were told you couldn't, and I don't know that they ever stopped, but they didn't shout it as loud, and now they do again.
Well, when we're winning, and let's face it, we are.
Yes, we are.
We had the polling, even from last week, that had 93% of registered Republicans say that they're proud to be identified as an American. Whereas you get down into the 30s when it comes to the Democrats, which is shocking, being that those numbers have completely changed since 2001, where the Democrats and the Republicans, both at a 92 and 93% clip, both said, we're proud to be Americans.
Yeah.
So what happens when you're celebrating all things America?
Yeah.
You have 70% of one voting faction that's like, no, this place is terrible. I can't believe we're doing this.
And you saw a little bit of that on social media.
Fortunately, they're a minority.
Yeah, total minority.
At this point.
And it was funny how ratioed they were. Like, people were just like, would quote tweet them and say, what are these people thinking?
Oh,
what are these people talking about?
Our shirts, our flags, all of this was up for... I want to say, not even say mockery, because I don't care what they think.
No doubt.
But you could just see what would get the ire of these people. That anything that was red, white, and blue and in-your-face oriented was bothering them.
Don't you celebrate. You stop celebrating.
It was bothering them. And you couple that with what should be the best parts of America. You have, like, absolute tragedy in Texas.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
You now see what happens when you have a responsive federal government that immediately gets in there to say, how can we help?
Yeah.
Whereas we saw what happened when we had those floods in North Carolina. People in North Carolina will tell you there was nobody to be seen for weeks.
They couldn't find anyone. And when they finally did, they were in a Kroger shopping center. That may have been Kroger.
They set up a FEMA in the corner, and it was like, come talk to us.
Way back in the corner, so nobody could even see that they were there. And then when they stumbled upon them, they had no answers for them. They got no help. And there's still local groups, these Amish communities that have been building houses and roads and barns and buildings and doing extraordinary work. And look, I'm a country music guy, so Eric Church building an entire neighborhood in western North Carolina. I think he's up to like 100 homes that he's donated the money or helped raise money to do this. That had nothing to do with the federal government. 0%.
No, it's the best parts of America.
That's exactly right, dude. You nailed it. And
that's why I was celebrating. That's why I was sitting back in the face of tragedy. And the face of triumph of what had happened on Friday with the big, beautiful bill and to see the entire left melting down, I think we saw the true face of, and every now and then they show themselves, but we saw the true face of what our competition is, and they are ugly people.
Especially when talking about those campers.
Yes.
Those sweet little girls that were lost, I assume lost. When they're like, well, they voted for Trump, they got exactly what they asked for. Be like, sweetheart, those kids have never voted a day in their lives.
Their children. Well, their parents must have.
Ghouls.
Well, they were at a religious camp.
Exactly. So they deserve it because they're at a religious camp. But
that's when the mask came off.
Oh, I know, dude. And
I get it.
The worst of the worst.
They got slaughtered on Friday. Mm-hmm. Everything they were pushing, all the stuff they believed that they were going to get this victory in the House and in the Senate. And when it didn't work out, when all of the horse trading and the arm twisting and everything ended up working out for this administration's favor, those people went nuts and looked for a victory anywhere they could, and they thought they found it in the Texas Hill Country amongst a crazy flood and children dead. That's the ghoulish nature of those people. That's what you're up against. That's what you go against.
Every day. You have to realize it. You have to realize that these people are unfortunately ghoulish.
They don't have a moral compass outside of power. Power above all. Power is everything.
And money, power and money, because they go hand in hand. Like, I want to think the best of people, Los. I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. And then they go and do something like this, and you're like, oh my gosh, how can I? How can I do anything and I'm in just my nature is to expect the worst, hope for the best. That way I'm never disappointed. But with people, I often trick myself into thinking, yeah, you know what, give them the benefit of the doubt. Instead of expect the worst, hope for the best. That way when, one Democrat or one person on the left, does something that you don't expect, you're like, well, that's good, man. There we go. How about that? There is one. But that's the thing. Like, I fall into the trap of expecting them to do right, and it's not in them.
No, it's again power, money, but mostly power above all. And after their defeat on Friday, they were looking for that victory anywhere they could get it. Like if we were to go, and we haven't done it yet. And this is more for the as we get into the 7 o'clock hour. When we get over to MSNBC and we spend some time there, first off, the narratives. I'm telling you, the Mother Jones motherboard, surfers, it's amazing the stuff that they come up with that they're just flat wrong about.
And but they believe.
Because it makes a way on a message board.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent a part-time, really drunk, Saturday, basically breaking down the BBB. Now, keep in mind, I was really drunk. And yet, I was still able to go, look, it took me 3 minutes to find the text. What you're saying is 100% wrong.
Yeah.
Here's the information right here. You're allowed to read it. You're more than capable. But you're willing to use a motherboard or Mother Jones Reddit or whatever in order to come up with what your opinion's going to be. I mean, think about what happened with this horrible tragedy in Texas. One of the first things they went to is, look at the cuts that were made. The cuts don't even go into
National Weather Service, and they don't go into play until
for 4 more months.
Yeah. And they had 5 meteorologists on staff instead of 2, which they normally would have.
But the Mother Jones, Reddit, Mother Jones, motherboard people, all those, they bought into a narrative that then they tried to preach. And although wildly false, it didn't matter to them. Because it was all, how can I paint my opponent in this way that they're inept?
And then
in the end, with children dead, that's what they did.
Yeah, I'll read you one.
Oh,
it's terrible to see these posts.
And by the way, I'm from this area of the country. I spent this morning showing videos and pictures to Tug. Like, I still remember, it's 1989. And my mom's car is having to be pulled out of her work parking lot because it was submerged. Like, we got back a submerged car, and it smelled like you couldn't even believe it. It was like as nasty as you. And this was somebody who, my mom was working just outside the downtown San Antonio area in one of the AT&T buildings. This wasn't like it was some remote area.
Yeah, sure.
And when that thing came through, and like everyone in San Antonio knows, like flash flooding, when it's going to start or you get the warning, one of the first things is you plan a different way home because you know the low water crossings get very dangerous. That's one of the things that's so different about Texas versus Georgia. We don't deal with a lot of low water crossings. You get them all over the hill country in Texas, and they are deadly.
So you said 89, and then you said
98 was another one too.
When you're in high school,
where the dam in San Antonio, and yeah, of all things, there's a dam in San Antonio. That was overwhelmed. That was overrun, and the entire downtown area. If you ever want to look it up, you would be looking up San Antonio highways flood 1998. Our entire highway system was done because once those things start and they come out of the hill country, it just floods everything. And so that's the wild part about this entire story is wondering, you have a mistake that was made. I don't believe it was with the National Weather Service. I believe that it was a lack of understanding of how quick these things happen. I'm like, if you are running a camp in that area, you got to get those people out as quickly as possible.
And apparently there was a camp in that original site that had been washed away before, and somebody decided to go back and try it again. And
it's not a good idea. That is very dangerous when that occurs. I just growing up with it, seeing it, we would have stories of people that would get washed away at low water crossings. Like, this was a regular deal. I still remember I had 2 high school friends. It was the Willingham brothers. And they actually had to get a winch on their Jeep to start pulling people out of a low water crossing.
Wow.
Like, they were doing, in high school, they were like, these people are in trouble. We got to get them out of the water.
I've never seen or experienced anything like that.
It is, it's the power is incredible.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take, I think that the numbers are essentially this. It only takes, and I might be a little bit wrong on the math here, I think it only takes 2 inches of water to move 1 ton of a car. And so now we're talking about a foot of water.
Yeah.
And then obviously when it comes through,
all the way up to 15 inches.
It just, your car's gone. You and your car are gone.
I was reading yesterday 15 inches in 45 minutes, which raised I want to say a lake or something.
I think it was a river. It was about 20 feet in 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think they were showing the Guadalupe.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The Guadalupe River went from a calm, friendly, fun river, and we call it tube in the Guadalupe. Like, that's, obviously we've got rivers
like
around here.
Hooch.
Exactly. It's like getting on the Chattahoochee, shooting the hooch. We tube the Guadalupe. And it's a nice, calm, friendly river, that and the Comal River, to then see what that thing looked like. And it was just a raging monster. That's what it looks like with Texas flash flooding.
It's unreal, dude.
Yep,
and
it's
then,
scary.
And then the responses.
Oh, they're showing actually the Guadalupe.
Yeah.
I was looking over on Fox News. If you're following along on your TV at home, along with us on YouTube.
Yeah, 11 remain missing in the summer camp. But
Buddy Carter's granddaughters were at that camp, and he's come out and said that they are okay.
Wow. Okay, I didn't see that.
No, yeah, he found out on Friday as it was happening, and so they made a lot of efforts. But it was touch and go for a little while.
Man, that's scary.
That is scary, especially for a guy that, just obviously you're from the area, but to have somebody like Buddy Carter who comes on the show to be directly connected to it as well. But so Sadie Perkins, she's the former market manager of Freeman's Town Farmers Market, a non-resident fellow at Princeton University. She posted the video about Camp Mystic in Texas, and she said, this was a camp that was exclusively for white conservative children. If you're not white, you're not right. I remember watching this video and just in disbelief of the way that this woman was discussing this camp.
Well, she rides around on her broom.
No question about it. Absolutely.
Like, how cancerous must this be in your mind that not only do you think this, and granted, you can think whatever you want. People think some horrible things. You decided to post this. Like it was some sort of victory.
And we're totally comfortable doing so.
Yeah.
You're like, nah, it's fine, man. I'm good. This woman went after the people who expressed concern or donated money to help find those missing kids, suggesting that the children were Hispanic. If they were Hispanic, they wouldn't have received any immediate attention. And I would say any camp with any kids of any color or any descent would have the same kind of concern, would have the same kind of attention. Why would it not?
The only reason why any of these people even know Uvalde, Texas, was because there was a shooting there, and that's largely Hispanic community. They didn't care about that. All they cared about was this furthers our gun control measures. So this is what we get to celebrate. This is what we get to get into. I've said this since I started on this radio station. In fact, I think like the very first time I was on a promo, I talked about how the left needs school shootings.
That's right.
Because it furthers their goals. They will look to anything, especially when it involves children in tragedy, and they will look to capitalize on it because they recognize that when you have children in tragedy, that strikes a nerve for everyone.
It does, for everybody. Now, this woman, Mrs. Perkins, who's not taking the video down, she's posted another that claims it's white people using their white power to bring her down.
How about just people that are not ghoulish?
Like you, ma'am. Like you, that are not disturbed and disgusting. I don't understand the mindset. I'll never understand the I don't want to understand the mindset, to be honest with you.
I've made the point. I don't think it's outlandish at all. People build their own matrices, their own constructs for their mind, and hers is completely ridiculous. I always joke around. I know that Limbaugh always talked about being the mayor of Reelsville.
Yeah.
I've always just kind of tried to be like, all right, I'm getting fed this. What is the truth here? I'm going to kind of sit back and wait until I can kind of get a lay of the land. I think that kind of helps keep you sane. Don't be emotional about it.
No.
You don't have to be first.
Yeah.
First reaction, first response. You can just sit back and go, let me see how things are playing out here.
Let's make sure we're doing the right thing. This woman, I don't think, cares about the right thing at all. This woman is, she's damaged, if nothing else. 6 o'clock hour is brought to you by Subaru of Gwinnett. When we come back, Trump is the ultimate guy's guy. We'll make the case next.
Neil Bortz is only live on Xtra 106.3, bringing you daily commentary on the biggest topics of the day. Catch him throughout the day or hear his latest on the Xtra 106.3 app.
Don't miss the first MLB All-Star Week event at Truist Park as talent meets tradition in the 3rd annual HBCU Swingman Classic presented by T-Mobile and powered by the MLB/MLBPA Youth Development Foundation. Join fans, athletes, and alumni to watch Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. shine a light on 50 of the best young ball players from HBCUs around the country on baseball's biggest stage, July 11th at 7 p.m. Get your tickets today at allstargame.com/swingman.
It's hot out. If you lose your cool with the law, it's important to know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we believe everyone deserves a second chance. So if you find yourself in trouble after a day of fun, in most cases we can have you or your loved one out in a matter of hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT. That's 404-BAIL-OUT. Or online at atlbail.com.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, CPAPSETC.com.
Military veterans are eager to transfer their skills and experiences to civilian life, but lack trusted connections to expedite their path to success. That is, until they meet the Warrior Alliance. The Warrior Alliance goes the extra mile to reach veterans in their communities so they do not have to take this journey alone. With over 40 partners across 10 service areas, your donation goes a long way toward achieving maximum impact for a veteran and their family. Go to thewarrioralliance.org to donate today and commit to helping the Warrior Alliance change thousands of lives for the better.
I'm Ashley DeVorkin with a Fox Celebrity Profile with director Gerard Johnstone of Megan 2.0. In the sequel, Megan takes on a rogue AI named Amelia, and the story once again taps into a timely conversation.
It was a big and bonkers reaction to the first movie, so it felt like it deserved a big and bonkers sequel. I felt very confident that what we were doing, fans were gonna like.
In part 2, Megan takes on an AI named Amelia. Johnstone says the story taps into a timely conversation.
The idea of a robot that you could have a conversation with, like a really fun conversation with, seemed a far out future fun concept the first time around, and then immediately ChatGPT comes out and the whole conversation just changes.
It's a cool experience to create a character who becomes part of pop culture.
I've been to Universal Studios like 10 times because I have young kids.
Yes.
Yeah, so every time we go, when we see a Megan doll or a Megan on a t-shirt, it's just hugely gratifying.
Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
It's July 7th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Father-Daughter Take a Walk Day. She may not be daddy's little girl forever, so today is meant to reinforce that relationship. The late NBA Hall of Famer Kobe Bryant referred to himself as a girl dad. So take a walk in a park or just in your local neighborhood, because those memories will last a lifetime. Also on this date, 1928, the first loaf of sliced bread was sold at the Chillicothe Baking Company in Missouri. Otto Rohvetter invented the first bread slicing machine for his friend who owned the bakery. The machine produced uniform slices, which would also then spur sales of toasters. And in 1981, President Ronald Reagan kept a campaign promise to nominate a woman for the Supreme Court, announcing his intention to nominate Sandra Day O'Connor to the highest court in the country. The Senate would overwhelmingly confirm her nomination later that year, making O'Connor the first woman to ever serve on the bench. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Monday, July 7th. The Cobb County School District is considering a property tax increase. The increase would be due to keeping the millage rate flat at 18.7 mils as property values have increased all across the county. School Board Chair David Chastain said a rollback is unlikely. The board will hold 3 sessions to receive public comments starting July 11th at the board office on Glover Street. 2 Bartow County Sheriff's deputies are being acknowledged for their heroic efforts in confronting the shooter at Appalachia High School last fall. Deputies Chase Boyd and Brandon King will receive the National Association of School Resource Officers Award of Valor in Dallas, Texas today. The Bartow County Sheriff Judd Smith was also recently named Georgia Sheriff of the Year. And the famous Budweiser Clydesdale horses are coming to town. The 8-horse team is making an appearance in downtown Smyrna on Friday as part of Major League Baseball's All-Star Game festivities. Today's weather, mostly sunny, dry, and very hot. Temperatures will reach the mid-90s. More storms are on the way later this week. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
This is the Morning Extra. Tug and Los until 10. Donald Trump letting illegals know that, look, we're not messing around, Los. And is this real? Because Jerry and I had the debate this morning if this is real or not.
I don't believe it is, but it is really funny when you start. Okay, so everything always has to go through, is this AI or not?
That's right. Everything. And it's getting harder to tell because I told Jerry this morning I wasn't sure. When I watched it, I was like, it doesn't sound like something Donald Trump would say, but who am I? I could be wrong. He dropped the F-bomb the other day.
That's a really good point. Well, the only way, and I talked about this with Jerry as well, the only way I can now feel I can tell, because AI is getting so good, is if the verbal patterns tend to match.
Right.
Do we get ums? Do we get pauses? Do we get certain things that the person says? Is there a certain way that when they take a breath, how does that work? So that's the only reason why I was like, there's no way. But if you want to have like a fun piece of audio of what you wish Donald Trump got in front of a microphone and said, this is what AI and somebody out there decided would be a funny thing if Donald Trump was to let you know the state of illegals in the country. Take a listen.
It's pretty funny. Well, I think it's funny, at least. All the illegals, they still think we're stuck with them? No. You're about to be stuck in here with us. Clock is ticking. Could be a soft tick, could be a loud one, hard to say. A word of advice, though, I'd scram if I were you. Skedaddle. Vamoose, leave while you still can. Alligator Alcatraz is just the beginning. Next up is Shark Shawshank. Sharks, very dangerous, not the most reasonable of beasts. Some of you have seen the Discovery Channel and know what I'm talking about. Shark Week, very exciting. We'll live stream escape attempts, justice and economic stimulus in one. Rikers with grizzly bears is an option as well. We could use a snappier name, but the concept is strong to very strong. In a big way, quite frankly.
He had me with, he went a Bronx Tale, and then as soon as it kept on going, I was like, wait a minute.
All right,
hang on.
So the first few seconds, I'm listening and going, okay, I'm kind of on board.
Yeah,
like this,
yeah.
This sounds like something he would say. Then when he said, no, you're not stuck. You're not stuck with you. You're stuck with us. And then I'm kind of like, okay, that doesn't really sound. And when he goes, was it Vamoose, Skedaddle?
Skedaddle, Scram.
I was like, okay, maybe that's still. The minute it goes into Sharknado.
Yeah.
Shark Shank.
Shark Shank. And what is it? Not a very negotiable beast?
Yeah, I'm talking about sharks, yes. They're not negotiable beasts.
Oh, that's the moment where I was like, okay. This is clearly not real, but it is really funny. Dude, and I'm glad they lured me in with it.
Absolutely. It was so good. And it goes right along with those names that the Babylon Bee put out. You know what I mean? Rattlesnake Rikers or whatever it is.
Shark Shank.
Dude. The sharks are not negotiable beasts.
How scary is that, though,
Island,
that it's that good? It is so dead on in his voice.
Yeah.
So good. Rikers Island featuring bears.
Yeah. And we're going to live stream the escapes. Dude, from Alligator Alcatraz, because I got to be honest, I might watch that. I could probably be lured in to watch something like that.
Comedy is supposed to have like that element of a little bit of truth and then outlandishness. That was so well done because the first 10 seconds, I'm like, this might be kind of legit. And then the hook is in me, and I'm dying laughing yesterday.
And scram is one of those words that Donald Trump might use, because they would use that on like the Three Stooges. You know what I mean?
Skedaddle is like a Civil War era term.
Yeah.
Stop shortage good. Now go on now, get.
Yeah, get on.
Go on now, get.
Get on out of here. That's what my grandpa used to do.
That's what I yell at the possum. That's what
right.
you told me to do.
That's right, because that's what.
Get on out of here.
That's what my grandpa, Pop Cower, that's what he would do. Get on out of here. All the time. It was so funny. I remember it and so vividly when he would do that as a kid. MS-13 is a dangerous, dangerous gang. I mean, they're a prison gang, a Venezuelan prison gang. And ABC wants you to think differently of them, though. And the reason I know that is the case is because I was reading an article, and the headline was calling MS-13 a clique. Not a gang, but a clique. More Mean Girls and less murderous, violent prison gang. That's what I took away from it. These people never quit. It's always, Los, it's always about attacking your common sense, though. They want to use your common sense maybe against you because you're like, well, wait a minute. A clique is very different. A clique is a group of people that have something in common that always hang out. There were cliques in high school. There's cliques at work. There's cliques in the military. There are cliques everywhere. They're just people with common interests, common values. That's very different than a violent, murderous prison gang.
They routinely rewrite language to be right.
Yep.
This is their game. I mean, it went so far and so extreme in 2021 that they rewrote what a vaccine was, and we're all like, wait a minute, but that doesn't really apply. That's not how that's supposed to
recession.
go. They got recession. Listen, we've had 2 or 3 quarters of negative economic growth, but we don't call that a recession anymore. It's just what it is. So a violent street gang doesn't have to be a violent street gang anymore. It can just be a clique.
They hope you just read the headline. That's what they're hoping for. And I do believe this is like an attempt. Now that Abrego Garcia is in custody, this is another way because he was accused of being and is. I think everybody understands that he is a member of MS-13. But they're trying to say, well, it's just a clique. He's not so bad. He's just a Maryland dad.
I grew up during a time period where if somebody was a gross person and did something with a child, we might call them a pedophile.
Yes.
All right. The left has now created the minor attracted person, which doesn't seem anywhere near as offensive as pedophile.
No, absolutely not. But once you scratch back the surface and you realize, those are the exact same thing, one is meant to soften what it actually is.
The language softens, yes.
And then, why are you being so weird about this? This is totally fine. This is totally normal. Nothing to see here.
See, and that's the weird part about it. Like in gang hierarchy, gang culture, there is such a thing as individual cliques. Like that is a term.
That's right.
When you talk about, for instance, if you were to say, all right, here are the Bloods. Well, there are individual cliques that exist within that control certain areas, certain streets. MS-13 is an international gang.
Yeah.
It's how do you try and turn that into he just happened to be part of the neighborhood clique of MS-13.
And
he was just
do you remember when they were deporting Kilmar Abrego Garcia and they talked about him, the reason they knew he was in a gang is because he said, I'm afraid to be deported because the rival gang will kill me. And then you learn that he killed a rival gang member's mother. So what does he expect? I mean, for us to that's just a click. It's not that big.
It's no big deal.
And I don't know if you read this too. He said that when he was in the El Salvadorian jail, he was subjected to being beaten and kicked and psychological torture. Well, what did you expect out of a El Salvadorian jail? Were you expecting things were going to be just hunky-dory? Everything was going to be great? It was going to be a good time? You were going to have more, cocktails with Senator Van Hollen from Connecticut? Is that what you're expecting? I mean, come on, dude. That doesn't make any sense at all. But that's all back to the whole point of the conversation is ABC, they want you to think that Abrego Garcia is just a Maryland dad. Everything is just fine, and it's you. You need to self-examine. You need to look at yourself because you're looking at him in all the wrong ways. You've let these conservatives lead you astray about this poor man.
ABC is trying to make it out to sound like he's just some part of some minor street organization.
Yeah,
just a group of guys that hang out on the street corner. That's all.
They're it's just beer buddies, man. They're going out watching football on Sundays. That's what they do. They're just a little clique.
That's right. It's like, you know what? Like there's Georgia fans, but then Tug and I have our own clique. We do our own thing within the fandom.
That's right. Absolutely right. ABC.
That's all he is. He's just part of the little clique. That's all.
This is the Morning Xtra on Xtra 106.3 Tug and Los until 10. Pride was so subdued this year. And you just saw a lot of corporations taking a step back, saying, we're just not going to be so out in front. There is a backlash because of how far just the idea of pride parades and all the things that went along with it have pushed, especially when it comes to children. And Los, you and I both ran across the same guy that is a gay Latino man from the Bronx who said, I was told a whole bunch of things were going to happen to me when Donald Trump was elected, and yet none of them have.
I should be the poster boy for DEI and victimhood, a gay Latino man from the South Bronx. I should be first in line, heading their parade, screaming about oppression. But let's be real. Since 2016, I've been told that if Donald Trump was elected president, I would be put in a cage. I would get all my rights taken away. It would set us back 200 years. I was told that I should be afraid, ashamed, and silent. I would be on the losing side if I voted Republican. And that voting Republican meant voting against myself. Now, here we are in 2025. I have every single right that a white man has. Yeah, I'm not in a cage. I haven't been set back 200 years. A gay Latino man from the South Bronx has every single right that a white man has. Not one more, not one less. The exact same rights. I can hear liberal heads exploding right now. You know what I don't have? I don't have paranoia. I don't have victimhood, and I don't have a mental breakdown whenever somebody disagrees with me. Because the only thing that I left when I left the left was the fear-mongering they were selling me. And my support for President Trump is stronger than ever. I'm not trying to be edgy about it. I just see past all the bullshit now. I lived through the Democratic fear tactics, and guess what? Absolutely none of it came true. They told me to be afraid, but instead I chose to think for myself, and now common sense is back.
Woohoo, dude!
Good for you, man.
I wish I could shake that guy's hand. Just be like, dude, welcome to Planet Sanity. I love the fact that I was right. I was taking notes the whole time. Same rights as white dudes. They told me I was going to be in a cage. They told me that I was going to be set back 200 years. And he said, common sense told me otherwise. I have the same rights as everybody else. I've escaped paranoia, and I don't have mental breakdowns. He is so dead on. So dead on. And there's so many other people out there like him, I feel like, that are just now going, you know what? I'm not falling for this anymore.
There's got to be a moment where, and I don't know if it like, do crazy people know they're being crazy? You know,
not like
I'm not really sure. But even people that are just emotional by nature, they get worked up in the way that they do. Whether it's they start blaming anxiety and stuff or whatever. Don't you think there's a moment where they go, what is feeding this? And it's often their own entertainment. It's often the stuff that they go to make them feel this way. That gentleman just brought up, I don't have any of these issues. I don't deal with this paranoia. It's like, I just basically stepped away from all of it. I stopped listening to the fear-mongering, and as it turns out, nothing changed in my life that they told me was going to. It's even better.
Yeah, compare him to those libs that get in their cars and record themselves. Exactly, just having a absolute meltdown. Dude, I'd rather hang out with that guy than any one of those Looney Tunes. Because that guy's a pretty regular dude from what I can tell. His lifestyle very different from mine. But it doesn't change the fact that we both live in the same country and experience the country the exact same way.
And isn't that supposed to be the idea of all of this?
Yes.
Like he brought up one word that always sticks out to me: victimhood. If you stop believing and stop buying into what you're being sold, that you're a victim, the world opens up for you.
It does, dude.
And that's exactly what he was talking about. He's like, I don't see things in this way. I don't react things in this way, because he was told for the longest time, you're a victim. You're a victim. This is what they're going to do to you.
And he believed it for a long time.
And he got away from it. And what did he say? Dude's happy.
Yeah, he was like, I don't have to live this way anymore. And there's so many people that are just waiting. We played at the beginning of the week. We played the woman she said, I am a liberal through and through. You know, she's an environmentalist. She's this, that, and the other thing. Anything that you would liken to be a liberal. And she was like, I'm so close to buying an F-250 that I don't know what to do because of all the crap that the left keeps saying. The people that she says she agrees with, the people that she says she has common ground with politically, and she's fed up with it. She was like, I'm about to buy a Trump flag, and I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm just so tired of the victimhood. I'm so tired of the BS that goes on the left, trying to convince people, trying to convince them that they're victims. I think that's the hardest part, because when people open up to that, they're like, but I'm not what you say I am. Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. Glad that you're here. Off a big old 4th of July holiday weekend. So much to talk about, and we will continue the conversation next. We're all just taking the Democrat voters away from them and converting them to common sense voters. That's the discussion next on Extra 106.3.
The Morning Extra on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM.
So it was a toasty weekend. You know what didn't happen at my house? Nobody was in the house going, good Lord, it's hot. I'm sweating like crazy. Nobody was doing that. Everybody felt nice and cool and refreshed when you walk back in the house, because we work with Central Heating and Air Conditioning. And have for years. Central Heating and Air Conditioning, one of the few second-generation, locally owned HVAC companies in Atlanta. And they know what it means to give back. And they're doing their Christmas in July again, where they donate $10 from every maintenance agreement to Skyland Trail, a nonprofit leading the way in mental health awareness and wellness. In Atlanta, they provide expert and evidence-based treatment to people facing mental health challenges, find a path to recovery. So just a couple reasons to work with Central Heating and Air. Actually, 3, right? Locally owned since 1947. Give back to the community and make sure that your house is as comfortable as it can possibly be. With those maintenance agreements, how do you get them? Easy. It's so simple. It's so easy. You call them at 770-GET-HEAT or go to centralheat.com.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Monday, July 7th. The Atlanta Braves were swept at home by the Baltimore Orioles over the weekend. The team is off today before starting the final 6 games before the All-Star break. All 6 on the road, beginning tomorrow night with the Braves in Vegas to play the Athletics. Around the National League East, the Washington Nationals have fired manager Dave Martinez, along with club president Mike Rizzo, as the team is looking for a fresh start. Martinez won a World Series as the manager of the team back in 2019. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
A golf instructor who knows technique can improve an aspiring pro's swing. But one who really cares can help transform a career.
There he is, your new champion.
When you team up with someone who knows a lot and cares even more, you're unstoppable. At Truist, we believe the same is true for banking. Truist, leaders in banking, unwavering in care. Truist Bank, member FDIC, leading based on top 10 U.S. commercial bank.
Hey, it's Front Office Los for True Prep. Thinking about buying a firearm for home defense or personal safety, but don't know where to start? Start with True Prep. They're a family-owned store focused on education, safety, and community. Join True Prep's Firearm Fundamentals Workshop on July 13th to learn about the purchasing process, gun safety, selecting the right gun, and more. No pressure, no intimidation, just real help from real people. Visit TruePrep.com. That's TRUPrep.com to sign up for this workshop today.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
6-year-old twin boys from Pittsburgh who are spreading sunshine in a cup makes today's Dean's List. Major and Makai Muhammad have been serving lemonade every weekend to help bring the community together. Their refreshing beverage isn't just from a package. Along with help from mom, the kids make the lemonade from scratch and say the best part of selling it is making people smile. Their mom, Sahira, has been helping with their project, teaching them the lessons about the value of operating a business, along with having confidence and discipline at such a young age. The price is whatever someone can give, making sure everyone is able to take a sip of their sweet drink. The Steel City Twins, as they are known on Instagram, are quickly becoming celebrities in their neighborhood with thousands of followers on social media. They say they just want to spread happiness and sunshine one cup at a time. Major and Makai, you made today's Dean's List. Keep up the smiles and the good work. Janice Dean, Fox News.
Fox on Film.
It may be the 7th film in the franchise, but Jurassic World Rebirth shows no signs of audiences having dinosaur fatigue.
The theme park owners did experimental work, leaving only the worst ones here.
The dinosaurs ruled the box office this 4th of July weekend. It opened on Wednesday, and industry estimates say it's taken in roughly $147 million. $91.5 million of that comes from the traditional 3-day weekend. The Dinos left the number 2 movie in the dust. That's Brad Pitt's F1.
Did you win something? There's 20 other drivers still out on that track.
It brought in about $26 million for its second weekend. Its domestic total is up to nearly $110 million so far. Third place went to Universal's live-action How to Train Your Dragon, which earned $11 million in its 4th weekend. Deborah Valentine, Fox News.
Stream Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, Glenn Beck, Fox News, and even NASCAR on Sundays. Anywhere on the Extra 106.3 app. Download the app now and get 24/7 access to the live stream, the latest news, and everything you need to know about Atlanta's only conservative talk station. Download the Extra 106.3 app for Apple or Android and check out even more great original content at thepodcastpark.com.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. Download the app so you can listen live and on demand. It's 6:46. You can listen at 6:46 or this evening at 6:46. Camera's off the air. Maybe you want to check out something we talked about. Maybe you missed it. Maybe you want to relive it, replay it. Hey, what were they talking about again? Go back and listen to it at your leisure.
And if you happen to listen to last week, we were the ones who gave you the tip. If you just put Cracker Jacks in your driveway, then St. George Washington will show up and give you more freedom.
I want to know who tried it.
In fact, if you have Prussians that you're dealing with, he'll crush them.
That's right.
You just put the Cracker Jacks out there. But if you didn't have the app, you would have missed such good information.
You would have not known. And now that you do, maybe you missed it then and you're just getting it now. You go back and get the full story. See, there's just so many reasons. I mean, so many reasons to download the Extra 106.3 app. So why don't you do that? Because this is a big tent. We have a lot of people in this movement that we have. It is not like the 20% or I would say less than 20%. It's easy 80-20 is the easy, the obvious, because that's kind of the foundational. That's where everybody kind of sets everything. I think sometimes it's 90-10, 95-5 when it comes to how many people are falling in line with what Donald Trump is doing, because it's common sense. We are taking their voters, and they don't have a say in it. We are getting them. Listen to Scott Jennings talk about this on CNN.
Their tent is so diverse that in one corner you have the socialists and in the other corner the communists. It's really wide.
Hey, look.
Democrats are having a hard time coming to grips with the fact that we're taking all of their voters. Working class Americans, multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-generational, working class Americans all over this country who heretofore have almost uniformly voted Democrat en masse came towards the Republican Party last November, and Trump did win the national popular vote because of it. It is an ideologically diverse party because of all of our new constituents.
I love the fact you said in one corner they got the commies, and the other corner they got the socialists. I mean, that's not a tent at all, man.
Like a pair of cousins.
That's a tent that will set itself on fire.
I like how he's breaking that down, because we've had it on all the Sunday shows. Yeah. When they start going through the numbers, things are just growing and growing. It's very similar to the story that I told. We have somebody who listens in on the radio station and who will then give us advice and feedback, and it's greatly appreciated. And when we were sitting in a meeting, he joked around about us being, far right wingers. And I looked at him, I go, my tent is a lot bigger than yours. Now, I don't know what his tent is, but I was just pointing out, I'm speaking to the largest amount of Americans right now. And that includes Democrats that have just decided, I'm done jumping through all these hoops.
So sick of it.
I'm right there with you. You and I have a mutual friend. I'm not going to say his name, just say he's in the entertainment industry. That back in 2019, 2020, probably voted a certain way. Mm-hmm. It took 2020, 2021 for him to be like, I am not riding along with you people any longer. And now you'll post up, and he's one of the first ones to be like, that makes sense to me. That's why I vote this way now.
That's exactly right. I think so many people. I mean, look at Bill Maher. I mean, he's a classical liberal, and he oftentimes says, no, I do love the American flag. I do love freedom of speech. I do love the founding principles of the country. Now, my party, I don't know where they are, because they don't seem to love the same things I do. And they've left him. And because he's not a Trump Republican, he's kind of just flopping in the wind.
I kind of believe that this is factual. One of the talking points for years and years has been that this country, now we call it conservative or whatever you want to, I think it's more common sense. I refer to myself as, I'm an aggressive nationalist. I want to do what's best for this country. But the talking point has always been that this country is predominantly 60% whatever this thing is. Again, if you want to just take the label off and call it conservative, I would just say common sense right now.
Yeah.
60%, 65%.
Trump's not super conservative.
No, he's not. Yeah. He's not in comparison to what else is out there. Wait for J.D. Vance. Mm-hmm. You'll see Heritage Foundation has him like at 95%. Trump would probably be at like a 70%. You have the scenario now where if you can rally that 65% of Americans to common sense policy, then the only way the Democrats can win is by cheating. They don't have enough people.
And the other thing is, it's going to be easier every time because people see it and get work. They're like, wait a minute, that makes sense to me. And then they've implemented it, and it's positive. I think I'm going to vote for that moving forward. It's pretty easy. I think once you establish it, like we have, like Trump has, that more people see it and want to be a part of it.
I'm not going to take this cheap shot, but I do want it to point out the difference in the two. Remember, under the Biden administration was hiring, 78,000 IRS workers. And one of the things they wanted to know about was, well, how did you get more than $600 in your Venmo? Okay, that was the nature of what they were interested in. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump is basically telling you up until $150,000, we don't care about your tips.
That's right.
Think about the difference in the two. One administration wanted to know what's in your Venmo plus $600. The other one is saying up to $150, we don't care that it's tips.
Just let that rattle around your head for a little while.
Ponder that one for a few minutes.
Because point to the person that's not going to say, I'll take the second guy.
Because outside, and I thought this was a really funny point, I had not pondered this. I want to give credit where credit is due. I'll look up his name and throw it on out there. But the man told me outside of a stripper, who is at $150,000 who's a tip-oriented worker?
Yeah. Not many.
Right?
Many.
If you happen to bartend.
Because they wouldn't be working there. Or vice versa. Everybody be trying to work there if you're getting $150,000.
Let's say if you're bartending and it's a pretty successful joint. Maybe between because remember, you're going to be paid pretty much at the minimum, and you're making your money on tips. Let's say you do when you make $65,000, $70,000 in a year. And the federal government is no longer concerned with the fact that you're having to claim, $45,000 of this is in tips. Donald Trump's America don't care about it. It's all your money. Have it. Keep it. There you go. It's all yours.
And I think it's not even just taking the Democratic voters. Think about how many people voted for the very first time. People who hadn't voted their entire lives. Then Donald Trump comes down the escalator, starts talking about things that make sense to everyday people. And all of a sudden, people come out in droves to vote for him 3 times. Now, 2020 is what it is. It's in the past. But people want to, it's like you said, Tug, people want to be part of this.
Absolutely. How could you not? Who's going to say, yeah, I'll vote for the guy that wants to hire more IRS agents to come after me? Who's raising their hand for that?
This sounds like a great idea.
Nobody.
I can't wait to be audited.
The videos of the IRS agents training with firearms.
Yes. When they've got a plastic firearm on their hip to have. First off, why do you have to arm the IRS? I wonder why.
Yeah, well, if you're taking everything people have, they're going to be pissed.
But the fundamental difference, $600 in Venmo. What's in your Venmo account? How much did you make? Were you doing that as a babysitter? We need our piece. That was what the Biden administration, their IRS, was telling you.
What does your pizza emoji really mean?
And yet, you have in Donald Trump's America, if you happen to be a couple, you're welcome to make more than $300,000, and after every $1,000 after that, we get $100.
That doesn't sound like an awful lot. Yeah, I mean, $100 off $150K.
It's again $150,000 after every $1,000 after that in tips. It's $100.
$100. Dude, anybody could.
And
anybody can afford.
They were going crazy, being like, "Look at what the tax." You totally got fooled. Now, yes, there is a horizon for this. Like this is going to be tried.
2028.
We're going for 2028. Yeah. This is going to be run for basically 4 to 5 years, and then we'll. But I guarantee the next administration that comes through is going to be pushing for this. Like the reason why you have some of these sunsetting dates is because it's something you can run on.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the... Now, I don't dig that, to be honest with you. I'd rather get it codified into law. Maybe I'm willing to do it once just to make sure it goes the way we expected it's going to go, but after it does, codify it, be done with it. And maybe that's what they're going to run on. But I just don't know anybody that's going to...
The tent is getting larger, my friend.
Well, I know, but I don't know anybody that's going to, at the end of it, because can you imagine being the person who's going, we're going to get rid of that. We're gonna pull that down. We're going to let that sunset. We're not going to re-sign that. We're not going to re-put that into law.
In the last 25 years, the only person I can think who went, yeah, why don't we charge more Americans more money was Barack Obama, who let the Bush tax cuts expire.
Which is another guy that, and you've documented it so well, Los, was the guy that people liked on the surface, hated his policies.
Every time.
Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. After a Fox News update, the BBB is bad. For one group, tell you who that is next on the Morning Extra.
Listen to the Morning Extra, The Kimmer Show, Neil Bortz, and all your favorite Extra 106.3 personalities whenever you want with the all-new Extra app. It's anytime show replays, all your favorite podcasts, and the latest political news from across Georgia. Download the Extra 106.3 app now for Apple or Android.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Master Plan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Master Plan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, Remember to plan well because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and onshore. Discover more at Viking.com.
This is Window Nation, your source for affordable replacement windows at the highest quality. So if you've got old, drafty, sticking, or leaking windows, you need the experienced pros at Window Nation. You can pay a lot less and still get the premium windows you're dreaming of. Their custom windows are guaranteed to be a perfect fit, and they're backed by the best warranty in the industry. Go to getwindownation.com or call 866-90Nation for your free estimate. And for a limited time, get 50% off all window styles, plus pay no interest for 5 years.
This is House Call for Health. July is UV Awareness Month, an annual skin cancer awareness campaign to talk about skin cancer protection and prevention. The American Academy of Dermatology says UV is the root cause of most skin cancers, and there are some steps you can take to protect yourself. They want you to practice safe sun not just in the summer, but year-round. First, hit the shade when you can. Also, wear sun protective clothing. And always apply a broad-spectrum, water-resistant sunscreen with an SPF of 30 or higher. Dermatologists also highlight some common sunscreen mistakes, like ignoring the label, using too little, using an old bottle, or relying solely on sunscreen, also applying it only in sunny weather. They say only about 20% of Americans use sunscreen on cloudy days, when up to 80% of UV rays can still penetrate your skin. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's a Kimmer. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
The best way in America to help the poor is to not be one of them. Stay in school. Get a job. Stick with it. Don't get pregnant with a baby you can't afford to raise. The roadmap is there. Learn to read maps.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app. WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com.
Let's do another 10%. I'm Chris Foster. Fox News. President Trump is threatening an extra import tax on members of the BRICS alliance, a 10-nation group including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and says letters announcing trading partners' tariff rates start going out today.
He's pushing them to quickly make new deals before a Wednesday deadline.
I think we'll have most countries done by July 9th, yeah.
The letters warn countries that the higher tariffs could kick in as early as August 1st. But in true Trump fashion, he's also hinting he could extend the time for deal-making. Daria Albinger, Fox News.
Now 82 deaths confirmed in Friday's flash flooding in central Texas.
The frantic search continues for missing campers and a missing counselor from Hunt, Texas's Camp Mystic. Fox 4 confirmed Camp Mystic director Dick Eastland died trying to save girls from the raging Guadalupe River. While on scene, men tell Fox 4 they were looking along the riverbank for their missing grandmother. But Sunday afternoon, storms made the recovery efforts more difficult. Rainfall triggered a new flash flood warning. People in Hunt told to get to higher ground.
That's Peyton Yeager with Fox 4 Dallas. There's also flooding in North Carolina from a storm yesterday.
The remnants of Tropical Depression Chantal is forecast to move into the mid-Atlantic states with heavy rain along its path northward. Strong to severe thunderstorms expected for the northern and central high plains today, while the heat ramps up over the northwest and the desert southwest.
Fox meteorologist Janice Dean. Russia and Ukraine trade drone strikes.
More than 20 people were wounded by a Russian drone attack on Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine, 3 of them children, in a drone strike that damaged apartments and a kindergarten. Russia also targeted the northeastern Sumy region and the capital Kyiv. Russian authorities claim to have intercepted 8 Ukrainian drones headed for Moscow.
It's Jonathan Seven.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with iSurvey, you can
slow it
down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
No traffic, no big deal. It's the Morning Extra on 106.3.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. So many ways to listen. App the best way, but also 106.3 FM, 1230 AM. Extra1063.com. But if we're just being honest, the app, best way to go. So the story out of Texas is so unbelievable. And with Los being from Texas and being from that part of Texas has such great insight. And the fact that Donald Trump was able to act so quickly to get those folks everything they need to try to recover from this. And I did see early this morning that 2 young girls were found in a tree 35 feet in the air. That was the silver lining so far that started this day, is that they have found 2 more girls from the camp that was there.
It's just hard to imagine the power and the immensity of the flash flooding that we do get in that area of Texas. When you think about Texas, largely it's flat. You can stand anywhere in Dallas and see about 10, 15 miles on a good clear day and be like, okay, I kind of see where Arlington is starting. That's what Texas looks like. But the hill country is just different. The hill country is the area that surrounds all of San Antonio. And part of the reason why that ends Tornado Alley, it's because those storms can't get into that area of Texas. But when we get rain and it starts coming down and it's in buckets and it works its way through the hill country, there are so many river systems by which they just explode. And so that's what you're seeing. And we've dealt with it, as if you're just now listening. My mom's car in 1989 was underwater at her office because of one of these flash floods and what it did. In 1998, I still remember that our entire highway system in San Antonio closed down because most of it was underwater. It's just incredible the amount of water that can come through the area.
I've only been to Texas one time. Went to Houston for a long weekend to see a concert, so I don't have a lot of perspective on it. When you said San Antonio had a dam this morning, I was like, what for?
We got a San Antonio dam.
What for?
We have a low water area, like right in the middle of one of the most expensive areas in Texas, Alamo Heights. You can look at some of the homes, and you and I will Zillow a little bit later, but that area has such amazing flooding that's why there's a dam to help protect the area. But there have been a number of years where that dam's been overwhelmed.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's hard to wrap your head around, and it's hard to wrap your head around the people that are using it for political points, specifically Democrats. I mean, unfortunately, that's who it is. It's probably not surprising that's who it is, but unfortunately, that's who it is. And they glommed on to the whole. We'll see Donald Trump cut, funding, and there wasn't enough meteorologists. Turns out there were more meteorologists, and that funding doesn't change until October anyway. So these people used something that they probably understood was false to begin with, and yet they thought they would build a narrative on that.
It's just different. Like a tornado warning in this area of the country is different than a tornado warning in Kansas. All right? The same thing happens. When we get a flash flood watch or a flash flood warning in this area of Georgia, that's not the panic moment.
Mm-mm.
What I'm pointing out is when we get flash flood watches and flash flood warnings in San Antonio and the surrounding area, that means plan a different way home.
Right, because history
low
will tell
water
you.
crossings and the issues that we have of people being swept away, this is what we're used to. This is what we deal with. And so to see that you did have these warnings out in plenty of time, as much as 12 hours, as many as 3 hours, and then to have one side try and make it political, like somehow that budget cuts didn't make these warnings. This is what happens in Texas. People sometimes ignore warnings, and then people end up paying for the just ignoring of some of that stuff that's out there.
Because here, I ignore warnings and watches all the time because it doesn't have the same effect to you. It doesn't, because like in Alpharetta where we live, we have Big Creek nearby. There's never been one time that there's a watch or a warning that I couldn't go across the bridge over Big Creek.
Right.
Now, it raised, it'll be high. You're like, oh my goodness, man, that's higher than I've ever seen it before. But never once has it crossed the road. So we're a little bit, probably to our own detriment, one day we'll go through there and it will be because we're not used to it.
Imagine those of us who drive every single day and we cross the Chattahoochee.
Yeah.
All right? Like every single day, thousands and thousands and thousands of drivers that do that and just cross the Chattahoochee. In Texas, especially San Antonio, there are those areas that when we get those warnings or those watches that you can't go home that way that day because you don't know.
Yeah, can you imagine planning around the Chattahoochee trying to get home?
Yeah.
It'd be impossible. Especially to the northern suburbs.
You would be
400.
You would be planning like, how do I go 75, get north of the Chattahoochee, and then come across? That's regular in my area of Texas when we have these things happen.
It really is remarkable. Our thoughts and prayers to those people. Right now, I think the number's about 80.
80 as of now.
Yeah. And I bet it rises. I'm sure that's the expectation. But And shame on the people that have used this as some sort of political tactic or stunt or whatever you would call it, because it's gross and it doesn't say a lot about them as people. But Donald Trump has had some major victories. Look, I would even say acting the way he did so quickly to help Texas is a victory in and of itself. But he's had so many victories lately. 4th of July went off without a hitch. The fireworks were amazing. The B-2s that were captured over the Washington Monument were unbelievable. Like, I know those are not political victories necessarily, but it just goes along with everything else he's done. Pro-America, things are looking up. Things are the jobs numbers from Friday were extraordinary. It's fantastic. And then the OBB. OBBB.
The BBB.
Yeah, the one big beautiful bill. Yes, there we go.
All right, I reserve the right, because I've talked about how the spending will be concerning. But if you do create the growth, and that is the goal, then if we can get to 4% GDP, like that would be huge. If that would be unlocking the power of this economy. And if we got any higher, at that point, we are just ripping and roaring. But I started thinking about it. Who is the BBB bad for? So remember, we talked about the whole tip situation. I would think that any tip worker would really like the BBB. And I started kind of going through and saying, okay, well, who's complaining the most? Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
People who are here illegally. Because remember, what does the number now jump to? We're talking about $2 to $4 million that ICE previously had. And now we're talking in the realm of anywhere from $14 to $40 billion. You've now created a standing army, basically.
They're the most funded law enforcement in America.
Let's see. People who get Medicaid from working people and Barack Obama. Those are like the first four off the top of my head that were spending Friday going, this is awful. What are we going to do about this? This is what a dictatorship.
Yes.
And every one of them not only doesn't apply to me in terms of I'm not one of these, I am not one of you.
Yeah, that's right, for the first time.
But these people, actually, I think it's very easy to paint them into a corner and have another one of those Donald Trump victories. If you are asking people, just as you clearly explained on Friday, Tug, if I'm asking you to volunteer 20 hours a week in exchange for this Medicaid that you're getting as a supplement to help you, that's not asking a lot.
Look, I don't know what that's worth. I assume it's worth enough for people to want it really, really bad and be upset when they don't have it. So let's just say here at the office, somebody said, "Hey, Los, we're gonna give you this amount of money, whatever the equivalent is,
billions.
Billions. We're gonna give you this equivalent, and but what you need to do is we're gonna get you to do an extra 20 hours a month." And you're like, no, hell no, I'm not going to do it. I refuse. Who's going to do that? Everybody's going to be like, hang on, you're going to give me this amount of money and all I got to do is this?
I would like to think that over the course of my time working at Dickey Broadcasting, that yes, there is all right, we're going to give you this to do this. And I go, okay. And every now and then they say, hey, we also do this. Most every time I've been like, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Everybody picks up. Everybody does extra. Everybody throws in.
Because I'm appreciative of the work environment.
And the opportunity.
And to think about that when people are getting something for nothing, where's their moment of appreciation of going, okay, you need me to do a little bit extra for that?
See,
okay.
I think you've nailed it, though. And that's why the American people are so behind this. They're so sick of people being so entitled for something that you and I are paying for, that you listening right now are paying for. It's the appreciation. If someone were to be like, dude, I'm sorry, man, I'm on hard times, most Americans would be like, let them have it. Just give them another month, give them another week, give them another day. Let them have the opportunity to do it themselves, to pick themselves up and do good. But you see these videos on social media, people celebrating the fact that they're not doing anything. They're filling up grocery carts and buggies, and they're like, we're doing nothing for this, and you're paying for it. Bah, ha, ha, ha. Dude, that pisses people off, and understandably so.
All right, there's part of me that wants to believe that those are like plant videos.
Maybe so.
Like they're meant to be fake.
But I've seen so many of them.
But I've seen quite a few of them.
That's a lot to fake.
I've seen quite a few of them where they're explaining, here is what my situation is in life, and here's how I'm being taken care of by the government. And the weird part for me, Tug, is there overwhelmingly is not a pride factor in it. The ones that are the ones that light you up.
Yeah. That's right. When they're like, see, I don't have to do nothing, and you are going to pay for it. It goes back to the appreciation. That's the whole thing. I think people, when somebody appreciates something you've done for them or somehow you've helped them, they're okay with it, man. They're okay with taking the short end of the stick, because that's what we're doing. We're taking the short end of the stick to prop people up. But when you think you're doing good, you think you're bringing value, you think you're helping out, you're willing to do it. It's when they rub it in your face that you're like, I'm done with this crap. It's almost like illegal immigration. Before, when the numbers were, not that any number is okay, because it's not. But when it went from several thousand to millions, people were like, no, I'm done with this.
Well, these are all soft targets. When I point that out, it's to say Donald Trump wins on all these. The Republicans actually win on all of these.
Exactly right.
There is not one person that I saw out there going, oh my God, I'm going to go ahead and step up and fund Planned Parenthood because of what they did.
Bill Gates. Because he complained about it on social media.
If you're going to, well then put your money where your mouth is. If it's a organization that does not require taxpayer funding, and that's what you're telling me they're so successful on their own, they don't even need taxpayer funding, well then, you don't get taxpayer funding. Or it's going to be cut back significantly. And this money is going to go towards the problems that we have. Again, these are soft targets. Planned Parenthood is one of them. Illegals in this country and expanding the role and the power and the resources of ICE, that's a soft target. That's easy to hit. People that are on Medicaid that shouldn't be on it because they're able-bodied or now they have a work requirement, that's a soft target. And Barack Obama at this point has become also a soft target.
Yeah.
There's many Americans, I think, have woken up to the fact that he created the victimhood mentality that is perforating through his smaller tent of the party.
Just tearing that legacy apart.
Yes.
Shred by shred. Everything that he funded, everything that he wanted to do, everything that he did do.
The fundamental transformation of America.
People were sick of it. People know that it wasn't good. It was sold. A bill of goods was sold to you, and Donald Trump recognizes it. And I think most people recognize it now and are just fine with that target being torn piece from piece, part from part. I love it. It makes me smile. But because I don't support any of those things that you listed, I don't support any of that.
No.
It's nothing to do with it.
And a majority of working Americans who are trying to get ahead in this country This is not a bridge too far. We talk about growing that tent. We talk about Scott Jennings at CNN making fun of what the tent is on the left, what it's become.
He said in one corner they got the communist, in the other corner they got the socialist. That's it.
That's their tent.
That's the tent.
And he talked about working class Americans, and he talked about the expansion of every demographic. These are common sense principles. If I was to say, especially when it comes to a 90s Democrat, if I was to say that the work requirement in order to draw welfare, I was like, did you agree with that? Yes. Well, then what is the problem with the work requirement or volunteer requirement aspect of Medicaid? And there shouldn't be one.
No, there definitely shouldn't. And I think most Americans agree with that. Again, it just goes back to that appreciation, man.
Yeah.
We want to help. We want to give in, want to lend a hand. But we don't want to support. We don't want to be the complete foundation of everything you do. Like, I don't want it to be on my back. I don't want it to be you on your back, you listening right now.
Maybe this was because of what happened in 2007, 2008. Like, I had a friend of mine who became one of the 99ers. And we talked about it on this show before. That was when they expanded benefits when it came to those that were unemployed. That initially it was the 40 weeks. Then it went to, I believe it was 52. Then it went to 99 because the country was on its butt.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the housing market collapse. For those of you that are too young or you saw your parents go through it, those economic times were the hardest I've ever been through in my life. And I was right in that core of the 20-year-old, and it hit like the 20-year-olds really hard. Like, it was a real struggle for a lot of us. And so the 99ers were those that once their benefits ran out, now they didn't have anything coming. And in one case, I had a friend of mine, he worked years in HR. And he was really good at it. Well, what happens when no one's hiring for the better part of a year and a half? And now he's sitting on his butt as a talented person. What then occurred was you saw how that really hurt him moving forward, trying to kind of get his skills back. Mm-hmm. The 99ers were not to... there was something sad about how it eroded their confidence. And people that were good at what they did, after they hadn't been doing it for a year and a half, suddenly they didn't have confidence they could ever get back.
Yeah, it's one of those mental hurdles that you go through, especially, man. I remember being young. My dad lost his job, and just the hurdles of getting back on your feet. I mean, it's just mentally exhausting, and especially just like you're saying, there was never a day in my daddy's life he didn't want to work.
Yeah,
like he was built to work.
Buddy of mine, friends of mine who went through this, like they wanted to work,
and the longer it took, the more punishing it was, and the less they believed that they could, and then at some point, I believe this is probably why this came around. You know how that they have the stat of people that are unemployed and then the people that have just give up. That's what happens. Those people just give up. I think that's why that's a stat.
That Medicaid requirement, the worker volunteering requirement, you will have the left that is going to try and point that out as somehow being cruel or that's mean or you're kicking 14 million people off of Medicaid. No. To me, knowing the mental aspect of seeing what occurs, I think that if somebody's drawing that and yet let's say they go volunteer over at the Goodwill Center. You know, whatever it is, they're going to get that purpose. Eventually, they're going to find their way off of this program and back onto a life where there is a lot more confidence in what they're doing.
And I would even say building a network.
Yes.
Again.
Just be around people again.
Being around people. There's always doors that are open when you open up yourself to opportunity. When you open, it doesn't matter if you're volunteering at church or Goodwill or wherever. It doesn't matter if you're working at UPS or UPS as a driver or UPS corporate. Just the people that you interact with. I've said this to my son 1,000 times. I was like, you have no idea what might come of your time in North Carolina. You never know where down the road in your life, one of the guys you played with, you might be able to help be gainfully employed or build a business with, or vice versa. You've fallen on hard times. And there they are to open the door. It's just building the network of people. I believe that.
I believe it as well.
And that's why this is so important. It's much more than just getting your lazy tail up off the couch.
This is not cruelty. This is compassion when you look at what happens to these people when you do not have any of these requirements attached to this stuff.
Russia. The hoax has fully collapsed. and we know who was behind it. Next on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3.
When conflicts escalate around the world, don't let the mainstream media scare you into believing their narrative. Get it right with Atlanta's only conservative voice. And trust the Morning Extra, Glenn Beck, Clay and Buck, The Kimmer Show, and our entire lineup to give it to you straight. Don't buy the fear. Just keep it here. Extra 106.3 FM and the all-new Extra app.
Join A Second Chance Bail Bond CEO Daniel Madelon and host Tug Coward for the weekly radio show Back Your Blue. They will highlight special initiatives, criminal justice programs, and community events aimed at keeping our communities safer. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to learn some good news about and from the law enforcement and justice communities. Tune in on Saturdays or catch up on all past episodes wherever you get your podcasts or at thepodcastpark.com.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we believe everyone deserves a second chance. Whether your loved one's been arrested in Cherokee, Clayton, or any of the other metro Atlanta counties in between, A Second Chance Bail Bonds works fast to help expedite release within hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT or online at atlbail.com.
Good morning, Mike. What you eating?
You gotta try this.
I can hear you crunching from the next cube over.
This is amazing. I just discovered it this weekend at Lidl. It's Greek Goddess Gourmet Granola. They were sampling it, so I tried it. Then I bought 6 bags.
Wow. Is it cereal?
Can be. Or an amazing trail mix. It's great for a meal or a snack.
What's in it?
Well, they have 2 flavors, maple oat and harvest nut, which is my favorite. It's made with whole grain oats, almonds, pecans, raisins, coconut, and the sweet taste of pure maple syrup. Maple oat is a simpler take on their delicious granola. It's got wholesome oats, plump raisins, coconut, and maple syrup.
That sounds healthy and delicious.
That's why I can't stop crunching, Susan.
Greek Goddess Gourmet Granola. It's a breakfast or on-the-go snack you can feel good about. It's dairy-free and gluten-free, and with only 2 grams of added sugar per serving, even your belly will love it. Pick some up at Lidl, Amazon, GreekGoddessGourmet.com, or at specialty stores near you.
Fox on Tech. AI might be able to keep you cool. A team of researchers in the U.S., China, Sweden, and Singapore say they've been using artificial intelligence to develop new formulas for paints and coatings that can reflect and deflect summer heat. The scientists, including some working at the University of Texas in Austin, found that when applying this AI-created paint to the roof of an apartment building, it saved nearly 16,000 kilowatt hours of electricity in climates with hot summers, such as Bangkok. And the more often this type of paint is used in adjacent city blocks, it could save enough electricity to power 10,000 AC units. What's further astounding is that while the scientists say that it would have taken them a month to devise the paint's formula, the AI it was using cooked it up in just a few days, demonstrating how machine learning can speed up innovation to more quickly benefit people. With Fox on Tech, I'm Evan Brown, Fox News.
This is Poll Paris with Fox News Director of Polling, Dana Blanton.
Pride in the United States has increased significantly compared to the last few years. Only 39% of voters were proud of the U.S. back in 2022. It was about 45% for the past 2 years. That jumped to 58% in our latest Fox News survey, up 13 points. The survey was conducted before the U.S. took military action in Iran. It's unclear how that might affect voter pride. Among partisans, the recent increase in U.S. pride is led by Republicans. Today, 85% of GOPers are proud, up about 50 points with Donald Trump in the White House. Among independents, views held steady, with around 4 in 10 proud. At the same time, pride decreased among Democrats, down about 20 points compared to a year ago. Notably, the overall 58% expressing pride today is the largest number in more than a decade. We're proud to be transparent. You can find our surveys and a full methodology statement at foxnews.com/poll. I'm Dana Blanton. That's your Poll Parade.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Monday, July 7th. The Cobb County School District is considering a property tax increase. The increase would be due to keeping the millage rate flat at 18.7 mils as property values have increased all across the county. School Board Chair David Chastain said a rollback is unlikely. The board will hold 3 sessions to receive public comments starting July 11th at the board office on Glover Street. 2 Bartow County Sheriff's deputies are being acknowledged for their heroic efforts in confronting the shooter at Appalachia High School last fall. Deputies Chase Boyd and Brandon King will receive the National Association of of School Resource Officers Award of Valor in Dallas, Texas today. The Bartow County Sheriff Judd Smith was also recently named Georgia Sheriff of the Year. And the famous Budweiser Clydesdale horses are coming to town. The 8-horse team is making an appearance in downtown Smyrna on Friday as part of Major League Baseball's All-Star Game festivities. Today's weather, mostly sunny, dry, and very hot. Temperatures will reach the mid-90s. More storms are on the way later this week. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
7 o'clock hour is brought to you by Van Sant Law Group. If you're in an accident, make the right call. VanSantLaw.com. Russia. The Russia hoax has completely fallen apart. And now we know what we had suspected for a long time. Former CIA Director John Brennan was the person that worked with James Comey. And it was all based on the discredited Steele dossier to say that the Russians had a hand in Donald Trump being elected in 2026. Now we know it's official. It is done. It's over with. It's exactly what we thought it was.
It only took, let's see, as we got into 2017, 8 years. That's how long this went on. You had CNN and MSNBC and CBS and ABC and NBC that had thousands of hours of programming believing this to be true and created these narratives that Donald Trump was some sort of Russian plant, when all along, and we'd always heard the Steele dossier was paid for by Hillary Clinton. What we did not know was that as high as Barack Obama sat in those meetings of what they were planning to do to disparage Donald Trump as a president.
Under Barack Obama's watchful eye, all of that. They had a helping hand. Brennan, Clapper, Comey, they manipulated the intelligence. They silenced career professional CIA agents to get Trump so Hillary could be elected and be in power, and it completely backfired.
And it became then their protection after he was.
That's right, absolutely.
Part of the reason why Donald Trump, especially during that first 4 years, especially more so the first 2 years, why did he have a hard time with major legislation outside of the Trump tax cuts? Because you had a lot of Republicans on Capitol Hill that didn't want to get caught up in the whole Russian collusion case.
They didn't want, they didn't.
They actually believed he's a Russian asset.
Which is the most ignorant thing in the history. How could you look at a guy that had done so much for so long, so much good for so many different people? He decides it's bad enough, I'm going to run for president, and think that the Russians are like, hey, let's help get this guy elected. He's going to be our puppet. This will work just fine. If you can say one thing about Donald Trump, he ain't anybody's puppet.
If we can be, just a little reminder, remember it was under the Barack Obama administration that he told Medvedev, hey, relay to Putin, after the elections, I'll have more ability here. In this case, he's pulling missiles out of Poland and basically being like, that Donbass region, if you want it, do what you're going to do. Donald Trump, if there was ever somebody who would stymie Russian aggression, that's who he was. So you're telling me that the Russians, that they somehow created this scenario where they were going to get him into the presidency because he was going to be tougher on them than Barack Obama's party?
Not a chance of it. No way.
And keep in mind, too, if you don't...
because I was just going to say, because Crimea was handed over.
If you want to know the motivations, it's not just about power. I mean, power, obviously, paramount, most important thing. Barack Obama had to deal with the birther movement. And who was the chief birther movement guy? It's Donald Trump.
Because he's like, where's that birth certificate?
Find that birth certificate.
Never seen that.
Remember, part of the reason why Donald Trump was able to run was that he went on national television and said Barack Obama was an American citizen, period.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, he put it to bed. And then he moved on what he was doing. But Donald Trump was that guy. Barack Obama, who, let's say it's very questionable, that birth certificate.
To say the least.
To say the least. He spent the better part of 8 years going, I got this billionaire who keeps yapping about this stuff, and it's making it hard for me. So why wouldn't he sit in any sort of meeting going, that dude's dangerous and we got to find a way to stymie him?
Sure.
Remember at the press corps dinner where he looked at Trump and he said, you'll never be president.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. How about twice?
That work out.
Yeah. How about twice? And probably should have been once earlier than now. had the election not been stolen.
But there's a history here. Like, you wonder why a guy like Barack Obama, who is on his way out, would ever be involved in this to this level. And you got to understand, some of it is just the personal disdain for who Donald Trump is.
There's that, but I think it's more about power, dude.
I think so, too. That's a factor.
Yeah. Definitely disdain is in there.
If power's first and foremost, and I get to use it against somebody I don't like.
Yeah, why would I not?
Why would I not?
And you're telling me you're serving up a fake dossier that I can say, well, look, this is what it says. This says he's a Russian agent. This is coming from 51 intel agents that say it's real.
This is what was so gross about this, is that James Comey was playing both ends of it with the FBI. He's telling Donald Trump, because he had to give him briefings at this time.
Yeah. He's working for
Trump as a candidate, and then obviously as director of FBI.
When he's elected.
He is telling him, we're getting this information. We know it not to be true. We know this is false. At the same time, they're leaking this information to the press so that when the press writes about it, they can then go to a FISA court and say, listen, the press is covering this. We're going to need a warrant to be able to tap this stuff. They were playing both ends in order to set up an entrapment scenario.
Right, absolutely, man. One hand feeding the other. It was a big circle and full of just absolute people that hate Donald Trump first, but I believe hate the country. I believe they hate America like no other. And how do you stop a guy that absolutely loves the country from making the country more successful than maybe it's ever been? Look at what happened in 2016. Even under all the crap that was going on, he was still able to make the economy work for all Americans. How do we pull that rug out? We'll call him a Russian agent.
This is treasonous, is what it is.
Totally is.
And then by the time you get to the James Clapper end, again, he was on both ends of this stuff. By the time you get to debate night of 2020, and as he put it, we have to cover for the vegetable. That's what they were calling Joe Biden. We have to cover for the vegetable. And so he cooked up the 51 intelligence officials that say that this laptop is Russian propaganda. It's not real. In order to give Hunter Biden laptop cover for Joe Biden to be able to claim that. And the media just ran with it, just ate it up. Like, how easy was it to manipulate these people?
But it was just boxes. They just check every box. And the media, they didn't investigate at all. Or if they did, they knew what they had found, and they were just fine with lying about it because they hated Donald Trump enough. They were okay with manipulating every single voter in America because they despised Donald Trump. It didn't matter that the American people had voted for him or would vote for him, have voted for him. I mean, it's still happening today. All these same things. They just don't have the power they did because the power structure's gone. The media has collapsed, and we'll cover that a little later.
Oh, yeah, the numbers are brutal.
Megyn Kelly talking about the numbers are unbelievable. The only people that are left, crazy white cat ladies that are libs, and my Aunt Peg.
And your Aunt Peg.
Boom. Like the liberal, leftover Vietnam protester boomers.
I think I enjoy, and this is what I'm going to miss about volleyball season, the amount of times you're around a variety of parents and you all end up in the same area where there's like 90% of us that all agree on. Now, we might have little small offshoots of different things we care about, right?
Sure.
But a lot of it just comes down to competition and the idea of fairness. Again, fairness is a construct. It's not really real. The idea is like, I just want my daughter to have an opportunity to show something and then hopefully an opportunity to be successful in the future.
And have somebody notice and be like, hey, that's good stuff right there. Here, going to give you an opportunity.
And so suddenly it makes something that is a talking point for the left. It makes it unimportant completely. Like, oh, so what do you think about trans issues? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, nobody in this group cares one bit. Doesn't it's not an important factor.
Yeah,
I think that's the goal that we're now reaching. Is that the media, at least our media, at least what you hear on our app and when you check out podcasts and everything moving forward, it's how are we talking about the core issues that affect everyday Americans that really do matter? Because the media is spending so much time talking about things that don't matter in the interest of trying to find a victory.
This reminds me a little bit the way that Russia has fallen apart and Russian collusion has fallen apart and we knew what was happening. We felt like we've known it for years now. We just have the proof of it. It's like the 34 felonies thing.
I'd almost forgotten about that one.
They're almost the same thing. It's like, what do we have to run with? What do we have to say?
Well, he's a 34-time felon.
And the wheels fell off that bus too.
And the other way, the many fine people thing.
Yeah,
on both sides.
They just grasp at any straw.
He's a rapist
because they hate him so bad. Now Jake Tapper has turncoated. He's a Benedict Arnold to the left now.
He wrote a book and had to make some money.
Yeah, but he wrote about the things he should have been saying for the last 4 years, but didn't have the courage to do. He wouldn't go against the Democrat powerhouse because they run everything. They run Hollywood. They run every industry. They had the tech industry. Los, they had everything. They had their tentacles and everything. So Jake Tapper wasn't brave enough to go against them. Once now the wheels are falling off the bus of all of it, now he's brave enough.
Well, you get the tell-all after that. You get the tell-all book, and here's what I knew, and here's how it is. And even though our numbers are plummeting, I'm telling you, if you were to put, now I'm going to include you now in this, Tug. I used to just say it was just me, but I think that your Christianity would really anger MSNBC.
Yeah, they would hate me for sure.
But if you had us in like a, I guess it was like Hannity and Combs style, but it was just two guys that agree that are telling the audience why they're wrong, they would eat it up. We would do massive numbers. They'd be like 3-4 million a night. They're like, I hate those guys.
Yeah, but they're sure making us a lot of money.
And I would spend all day going, now here's how you win moving forward.
Yeah, that's right.
But you won't do it because you're crazy and you're sitting there with your cat eating ice cream.
And you don't have and you can't check the boxes.
And you can't check the boxes anymore here. You'd be sitting there, they'd be calling in like he's talking with all his white privilege.
That's right.
It's like his name's Carlos Medina.
Yeah,
ma'am.
exactly. Have you not noticed? Have you not paid attention at all?
We'd do 4 or 5 million, Tug, no problem.
No doubt.
Huge.
It would be gigantic and it'd be so much fun, but they would never allow it. They would never allow it. They couldn't allow it.
You're
would rather lose.
You're ostracizing our audience. What audience?
They would rather lose, dude. They would rather sit where they are losing than put someone who brings up the other side in a thoughtful way and proves a point. They would rather sit with Morning Joe, as we have it on this morning, and lose than give us the chance.
We put food on the table by bringing audience to the station. I can't imagine the opposite view of this, that we are so dedicated to an ideology that we will drive away audience in the interest of trying to play the game of always trying to fit the ideology.
Yeah. Here's another thing. We're not, and I know we're on a break, but we're not going to be up there screaming we're going to kill 14 million people. That would not be part of our conversation. we can play this on the other side of the break.
Let's get into that with the Megyn Kelly stuff, because both of them are really good with what's being talked about in the media.
That's exactly right. We'll continue next. Why we wouldn't say 14 million people are going to die because of Donald Trump on MSNBC when they give us a show. And one brick at a time, the mainstream media is collapsing on top of itself. Next on Extra.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Monday, July 7th. The Atlanta Braves were swept at home by the Baltimore Orioles. Over the weekend, the team is off today before starting the final 6 games before the All-Star break. All 6 on the road, beginning tomorrow night with the Braves in Vegas to play the Athletics. Around the National League East, the Washington Nationals have fired manager Dave Martinez, along with club president Mike Rizzo, as the team is looking for a fresh start. Martinez won a World Series as the manager of the team back in 2019. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
It either is or it isn't. When it comes down to it, that's all that really matters when choosing a certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz. It's either certified by Mercedes-Benz factory-trained and certified technicians, or it isn't. It's either backed by an unlimited mileage warranty for up to 7 years, or it isn't. Welcome to the Mercedes-Benz Dream Days sales event now through July 31st. Come in today and take advantage of finance rates as low as 2.99% APR special financing on select models. In addition, you'll receive unlimited confidence with Mercedes-Benz's unlimited mileage warranty, delivering continued assurance for up to 7 years. Because in the end, contact RBM of Atlanta for details and see how to qualify. We'd love to welcome you to the RBM of Atlanta family. Not all offers apply to all vehicles, and special financing available only to qualified customers exclusively from Mercedes-Benz Financial Services through July 31st, 2025. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this and other exciting offers. Visit us at rbmofatlanta.com or call us at 770-390-0700 for details.
Hey, this is John Flading. I'm the president and owner of ATL Turf Co. We have become a highly sought-after turf installation company in the Atlanta and North Georgia luxury residential market. The big reason for that is our installers are ATL Turf Co. employees. We do not outsource labor. They are trained to be experts in the turf installation process, drainage, grading. Just go to atlturfco.com to schedule an appointment.
Neil Bortz here. Maybe you've already taken the steps to improve your health, maybe save your life. You're using a CPAP for your sleep apnea. I've been using one for well over 20 years. So right now I'm here to tell you about a source for CPAPs and CPAP supplies here in the Atlanta area. CPAPs, etc. They're in Alpharetta. They have whatever you need. Roddy and Sharon are your CPAP experts, and they'll ship nationwide. More information, CPAPs.com.
This is Window Nation, your source for affordable replacement windows at the highest quality. So if your old windows have you boiling in the summer and freezing in the winter, you need the pros at Window Nation with installation precision and experience that are second to none. Their custom windows are guaranteed to be a perfect fit, and they're backed by the best warranty in the industry. Go to getwindownation.com or call 866-90Nation for your free estimate. And for a limited time, get 50% off all window styles, plus pay no interest for 5 years.
Hey, it's a Kimmer. Okay, you're driving along. Suddenly you hear that horrible sound of metal and crunching. It's an accident. Even if it's a little minor fender bender, man, that could be a nightmare. First, obviously, take care of yourself. But before you make a deal with an insurance company or anybody else, call David Van Sant with Van Sant Law. You know why? Because he used to work for the insurance company, so he knows how to get the right settlement and right away. Van Sant Law. Don't forget, if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. Protecting your interests. Insurance is great, but it's complicated. 855-GA-INJURY or vansantlaw.com.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. You've probably heard the term vote-a-rama a lot in recent days as the Senate wrestled with the big, beautiful bill. Well, here's a breakdown. It's Senate speak for a marathon voting series. That's where senators take vote after vote after vote on a series of amendments. The vote-a-palooza sometimes runs 10 to 15 hours. There's only 30 seconds to a minute of debate between all roll call votes. A vote-a-rama only happens when the Senate is dealing with the budget or budget reconciliation. That's the special process the Senate uses to avoid a filibuster when it deals with fiscal or tax matters. 60 votes are necessary to clear a filibuster, but the Senate just needs a simple majority to pass a budget-related item under reconciliation, and there's no procedural vote to break a filibuster, unlike conventional Senate operations. There's limited debate under the budget, only 20 hours, but amendments are unlimited. That's why there's so many votes, and that's why the enterprise consumes so much time. Vote-a-ramas aren't even an annual thing, but the Senate has already done 3 this year, and more might be in the offing. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's a Kimmer. How's it going? Here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Removing taxes on your Social Security benefits. No taxes on tips. No taxes on overtime. The bill passed. Every single Democrat in the House of Representatives voted no.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra and Extra 106.3. When Los and I have a show on MSNBC and we make them bazillions of dollars, and of course this is in Dream World because they would never allow it. They'd rather lose. They'd rather completely have no ratings than ever say anything positive about Donald Trump.
Can I name my name be first on that one?
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. It could be first today if you want.
I'd love to be like your daily medicine with Los and Tug.
Love it. Yeah, man. We can call that now. I love it. We can rebrand the show for all I care.
Your daily medicine.
That's right.
You're ready to take it.
Dude, I love the daily medicine. If nothing else, we need a segment called the Daily Medicine.
The Daily Medicine?
Yeah, with something just like this.
To make you feel better.
Yeah. Or it'll make you feel worse, depending on your point of view, I suppose. But we would never go on the air and be like, Donald Trump is going to kill 14 million people.
So this is from CNN, and this is one of their panel discussions. This is the Abby Phillips show. So another panel show where Abby runs the show and throws it out to different people. And this is coming off the heels of, I'm trying to remember what the newspaper that did it. and it was the 14 million people will die without USAID support around the world. Now, we joked last week. We were half joking that the party that continues to complain about this stuff also is the biggest pushers of Planned Parenthood.
Right.
Do you realize the weird dichotomy of that? We're going to lose 14 million people around the world, but don't touch Planned Parenthood.
Because we're going to kill all kinds of babies.
we got a marketplace here.
I don't know what the number is yearly for Planned Parenthood, but it's in the millions, I'm sure.
Don't mess with what we're doing there. Take a listen as this analyst. This is how I feel, and I'm hoping you feel the same way. As soon as we get into Mother Jones Reddit, Mother Jones message board talking points, I glaze over. I call this tired head, where I just don't have the will to fight any longer. I just give up. Take a listen.
You know, I got to admit, anytime I hear this, 14 million people are going to die because of Donald Trump, I'm sorry. I just glaze over like the rest of America. I'm sorry. I'm not sure. I'm not suggesting USAID.
That's kind of a sad thing to say.
No, that's exactly that's what every decision Donald Trump makes. The world is ending. 20 million people are going to die. No one's going to make it out alive. That is the standard procedure for every.
Take Donald Trump out of it. Take Donald Trump out of it.
How do we take him? I mean, this is
no. Take him out of it. Take him out of it. America stops funding life-saving aid. Millions of people will die as a result. Does that matter to you?
If that's accurate, yes, that would matter to me. But the Secretary of State disagrees with that. And the Secretary of State would say, hey, I put in a request for $17 billion in foreign aid. It may not be to the levels of what Joe Biden or others.
That's true. Now she tried to create the premise and make you argue from the sake of where she's fighting. The important thing was he said, if that's true.
Right, which it's not.
Which it's not. Again, the numbers, and I'm going to go with the numbers that I got from J.D. Vance and from Marco Rubio, who basically pointed out that only 8 to 12 cents of every dollar that USAID was sending out to these organizations actually made it to helping these organizations.
Because the rest of it was laundered back to the Democrat Party.
And so that's what they're upset about. There's a reason why the DNC, I brought this up over the weekend. I had a friend of mine who was asking me about this stuff, and I go, have you ever heard of the DNC running out of money? Like, no.
Never.
I was like, they're having to consider loans in order to get through the midterms. Why do you think that is?
Because their funding dried up.
Their funding dried out.
You are responsible for.
Your taxpayer money that was funding their operations is gone. So here's Abby Phillips trying to tell me about here's what's going on. And 14 million people are going to die, and don't you care? And my answer every single time is going to be, well, if it was factual, yeah, but it's not.
Which we know. So move on. Why do you continue to build this false premise, the straw man argument?
Hence the glaze over moment.
Which is what he's talking about, whoever that was.
The moment I hear, here's what Donald Trump said in Charlottesville, this is when the whores come in. Yeah. All right, the Tommy boy part where when the old lady says, that's when the whores come in, and every man in that room goes, oh God, here we go again. This is where we're going to. That's if you happen to find that clip. This is when the horrors come in, and the entire room just goes, oh, here she goes again. No. That is how I feel when you bring these things up. That's where it goes.
Well, it's because it's not real. And back to the point why MSNBC would never give us a show, because we wouldn't rest on that. We wouldn't allow that. We would challenge that, just like we do here. But the other part is the fact that the media is completely melting down. They're completely losing any sort of influence over, except for, I joked in the last segment, except for crazy cat ladies and liberal white women. Those are the only people that still depend on the mainstream media. No one else listens.
This is a minute of Megyn Kelly. She's on her podcast, which that also will do 1 million downloads on a regular basis. Like it's a very good podcast when it comes to those numbers. And she starts going through the primetime numbers. Now, keep in mind, like what Morning Joe does or Fox and Friends or anything like, okay, that's important, but that's not important like nighttime prime time. That is when they charge the advertisers the most amount of money. That's when you're supposed to deliver the most amount of audience. That's the money-making time in television. It's not like how it is in radio. Like radio, it's AM drive, PM drive. Middays is kind of like all right, we'll see what we're going to do. But everything's AM drive, PM drive. In television, it's evenings. Evenings is where it's at. Evenings is where they have to drive the numbers. Take a listen to Megyn Kelly as she goes through the numbers for the evening programming.
It's a bloodbath over on MSNBC and CNN. MSNBC, now the numbers are out on the latest Nielsen data reported by Adweek, now averaging between April and June, okay, so that's a quarter, 1 million in the prime time for its best shows. 1 million. All right, I mean, when I was at Fox, we were doing like 3 million and change on the Kelly File. And then on the big news nights, you could add a couple of extra million to that. Like 1 million? That's what I used to get on America's Newsroom with Hemmer in 2007 at 9 a.m. But now they're getting 1 million in the prime time. Prime time. Any show on the Fox News prime time that would, even today, especially because now, you know, it's inflated under Trump at Fox, that was getting 1 million in the prime time, you get fired. The anchor would get fired.
She's not lying.
No, because I would imagine right now, Jesse Kelly and who's before him, Laura Ingraham, I bet those dudes are doing 3 million easy. They have to be, especially when you talk about the inflated numbers because of Trump, and then people coming in to listen just to find something real.
That's a concern, because from 2016 to 2020, MSNBC and CNN actually did really well because Donald Trump was Donald Trump, and their audiences just lapped it up. Russian collusion, all of it. Here's COVID, here's all
Steele dossier.
Every issue, they lapped it up, and they did really well in comparison.
They needed Trump.
Well, when he went away, the numbers came down. The reason why they haven't shown back up, it's because they were lied to. The audience knows we were sold a bill of goods on Joe Biden, and you made us look bad, and Donald Trump is back in charge. Everything you said that was going to happen didn't.
And now they voted for him. I bet the majority of those people that left, they had to have. I mean, Donald Trump got elected because people that didn't traditionally vote for him voted for him.
Yes.
They were all those viewers of CNN and MSNBC at the time.
This wasn't just some sort of turnout election. This was a core group of people that have typically been in the middle or who have been Democrat, said, I'm voting for Donald Trump.
That's why the tent continues to grow. That's why the ideas are here. That's why you hear Scott Jennings on CNN make fun of the two corners of the Democrat Party, the commie corner and the socialist corner. That didn't exist with us. It's working people. It's people that care about the country.
I would like to think that, and Donald Trump is a part of it, but I would like to think that we did such a good job of telling you what was going to happen before it happened. That's the reason why we're doing record numbers. Now, Donald Trump definitely plays into that. That is an important factor for what we're doing. But we were the ones who told you, listen, the mugshot ain't going to work out.
It's actually going to have the exact opposite effect.
We're the ones who told you what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. Here's going to be the response from the American people. We were the ones that told you if they can just get him on a debate stage, this is what'll play out. We're the ones that told you that when it was a 3-on-1 in a debate, we're like, it was a 3-on-1 in a debate, and Donald Trump had to take on the media and had to take on his opponent in Kamala Harris. We're the ones who told you about all of that. So by the time it plays out and the polling tells you this is what happened, we're the ones who forecasted when it came to election night. By 7:30, we're like, he's won Dade County. Like, this is steam in the right direction.
And then when Erie, Pennsylvania dropped,
yes,
it was
like, we're good.
And that's when, because I happened to be watching MSNBC at that time, and they kept saying, we're not ready to say it that he's won it yet, but it looks rough. It looks bad. Erie, Pennsylvania is gonna be real bad if we have to report that he's won that. It's over. And then
by 11:30
minutes later,
it was over.
It was over.
But I believe that the part of the reason why we have record numbers and why things like CNN or MSNBC are on their butts is because they're no longer speaking truth to their audience, and their audience decided, I'm done with it.
If this factory goes under, the whole town goes under.
And that's when the whores come in.
There we go.
That's the moment. Thank you, Jerry. That's the moment. And that's when global warming starts.
Oh, here we go.
And then
that's when 14 million people die. No.
He said that Nazis were good people.
Oh,
here we go. Thank you, cat lady.
Morning Xtra and Xtra 106.3.
That is Tired Head in audio. Love it.
Mike Johnson delivers a knockout punch to the communists. We'll start the 8 o'clock hour with that. Got you a Neil Bortz report, then a Fox News update, then more of the Morning Extra.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Now, I'm not thrilled with everything Trump is doing. For instance, saying how much he hates Democrats. Pities them? That's fine. Hate? What's the point there? Look at the poor Democrat Party. For years, they told us nothing could be done about illegal immigration unless they passed some more bills in Congress. How long did it take Trump to put the lie to that? 2 days, I believe. Instead of giving Iran billions of dollars, like previous Democrat presidents did, Trump gave him a couple of bunker busters. The public loves it. Democrats are so frustrated. They have no legislative agenda. All they can do is file lawsuits. Who are the two most prominent Democrats in the country right now? AOC is one of them, and Zoran Mamdani the other. That Muslim Democrat socialist candidate for mayor in New York City. I so intensely hope that he wins. Turn over one of the most important financial centers in the world to a Democratic socialist. Let's see how that works. And let's see what's he going to do. Oh, he wants to raise taxes on white people. Not everybody in the neighborhood, just the white people in the neighborhood. Yeah, that ought to work. One of my favorites is government-owned grocery stores. Yep, he wants government-owned and operated grocery stores in all of New York's 5 boroughs. The same people that operate our government schools, he wants them to operate grocery stores. So help me with this, folks. If you have any relatives or friends in New York, tell them how much you support Mamdani and that you really hope he wins the mayorship. What a show that'll be. And Democrats have richly earned it. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Securing America.
The big, beautiful bill passed by Congress sets aside $12.5 billion to modernize the country's air traffic control system, one of President Trump's biggest policy priorities.
In some congested areas, you saw what happened with the helicopter and the plane and a lot of other things. If we had great equipment, and we should have had. It was all set up to go.
Calls for an overhaul increased after an American Airlines jet collided with a military helicopter in January. Then in April, equipment failures caused widespread flight disruptions at Newark Liberty International Airport in New Jersey. But the legislation is not expected to fund a complete overhaul, and some industry groups estimate that could cost more than $30 billion. The FAA is already making upgrades. On Thursday, the agency said it installed a new fiber optic network that will improve communications between New York and Philadelphia. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
More flash flooding in the forecast. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News, and more rain today could slow down rescue and recovery efforts in central Texas, where at least 82 deaths are confirmed in flash floods that hit early Friday. A statement from the Girls Christian Summer Camp, Camp Mystic, now says 27 campers and counselors died there.
Some of these girls, as young as 7 years old, were fast asleep in their cabins right near the river when this happened, and these devastating flash floods just swept through. The Guadalupe River surged 26 feet in just 45 minutes, according to officials.
Fox's Brooke Taylor. Governor Greg Abbott says 41 people in all are unaccounted for. Israel's prime minister is due back at the White House this evening.
For the first time since U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities and an end to a 2-week war between Israel and Iran, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will meet face-to-face with President Trump. President Trump and U.S. negotiators are hopeful they can secure a 60-day ceasefire in Gaza, a deal that officials say would require Hamas to release at least 10 living hostages and the bodies of 18 dead hostages. It's believed 20 hostages in Gaza are still alive.
Fox's Jared Halpern. Israel's military launched airstrikes targeting ports and facilities held by Houthi rebels in Yemen. President Trump says letters go out today announcing tariff rates and or deals with America's trading partners. The Justice Department says there's no evidence Jeffrey Epstein was murdered or had a client list used to blackmail people.
The newly released memo obtained by Axios claims enhanced video released by intel agencies from Epstein's jail cell shows no one entered the cell area where he was being kept in Lower Manhattan the night he died back in August of 2019. The findings contradict theories long pushed by some who have accused the government of a potential cover-up to protect the powerful, including potentially government officials, celebrities, and business leaders.
That's Fox's Ted Linder. America's listening to Fox News.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
What do you say to anyone who still doesn't understand America First? Tell the left now at 404-741-1230 on the Morning Extra.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. Thank you for being here. 404-741-1230, as you heard, at Extra 106.3 across the social media platforms. It has been a day already. And we've talked about the hill country in Texas and the sad story that is taking place there, and we'll get into a little bit of that too, because Los is from there and has the experience of seeing what happens now that they've moved that number north of 80. We're at 81 people that have perished in Hunt, Texas. It's just the saddest thing, Los, that I've ever seen. But this is something that you grew up with. It was very common, or at least relatively common, because it happened at least 2 times that you've brought up.
Flooding is pretty regular. Massive flooding is about once every 10 to 20 years. And this is one of those where it's just, you can go back and look at pictures from 1989, 1998. We've had some other scenarios that are similar. What happens is this is a different area of Texas. Much of Texas you're used to, like, it's the Great Plains, it's part of Tornado Alley, and that is most of Texas. You reach the Texas Hill Country as you get into the northern area of San Antonio. And that is part of the reason why you have so much flash flooding in the area. Because when it starts coming down and it comes off the hill country, the rivers in the area flood so quickly. When I was growing up, if you got a flash flood watch, you had to pay attention. And if you were ever at work and you got a flash flood warning, you knew that you had to change the way you were going home, because we would deal with a lot of low water crossings. And the amount of water that'll come running through some of those areas out of nowhere, like you saw that video of the Guadalupe,
it was
and
unbelievable.
How it went from what looked like about 4 feet of water to suddenly 14 feet of water in the span of 30 seconds?
Yeah, it was amazing. And then up to like 30 feet in a couple hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like nothing that I've ever seen before. And I don't recall, 89 or 98, just because 98, I was in the middle of the ocean.
And, you were a little bit busy defending this country.
And I'll say in 89, it just didn't hit my radar screen. I was probably, 5th, 6th grade, somewhere in there. So
I was a 8-9-year-old, and I remember us having to, my mom having to say, I think we're going to have to need a new car, because it was up to, I think the water got to the rooftop. Now, granted, she was at work. She was working in at the time, it's like 20-story AT&T building. But where their parking lot was located was near this area where there's a small river. And the flooding happened so quickly that all of the cars in that back parking lot were flooded. Just done.
It reminds me of every 10, 15 years around here, we'll get the ice storm. But it's not nearly as destructive as water.
Right. It's only happened once, really.
My mom was an insurance claims director for 20, 30 years, and water is just the power of water, the weight of water, the pressure that it brings when it comes down like that is so destructive. I mean, here when it freezes, you just stay home.
As much as people get concerned about hurricanes, and you're like, oh, hurricane wind, man, I'll deal with that all day long. Water is the thing that ruins your home.
And that's the thing about hurricanes. You got to deal with both.
Yeah.
You get the winds and the waters.
And like we ran into this.
Because you had the house.
Back when we were in Florida, we ran into how when you have a major catastrophe, and the reason why you want flood insurance, it's not, especially in some of these areas of Texas, some of these areas of Georgia, it's not expensive. The reason why you want it is that if you ever take water damage or wind damage, your insurance company will tell you, everything from the water line up will cover with wind. Everything from the water line down has to be covered with flood. And if you don't have flood, you're out of luck.
Yeah, SOL, as they would say. There's an incredible story. I was just talking to Los about it, and it is of a Coast Guard rescue swimmer.
I saw this.
Scott Ruskin saved 165 lives in Texas in the flash floods, directed Army Black Hawk helicopters to survivors, helped them get to safety, according to the New York Post. Here's a quote. Ruskin spearheaded a high-risk rescue mission under the worst possible environmental conditions, which in the end saw 165 brought to safety. He said to the New York Post, I'm just doing a job. He was like, that's what we were asked to do, and we're going to do it. Any one of us. If anybody else had been on duty, they would have done the same thing. It just happened to be our crews got the case. Dude, that is what America's all about. Coming off of the 4th of July holiday, coming off the Independence Day holiday, knowing that there was a tragedy and that someone, as a Coast Guard rescue swimmer, which is no easy task to begin with, I knew a couple Navy search and rescue swimmers, and these guys were the most physically fit people you'd ever met in your whole life. But to save 165 people, most of the time, in the one time I saw a Navy rescue diver go get someone, they went and got someone. This dude directed and saved 165.
And just so you know, if we're talking about the Coast Guard, and let's say that they're operating Port of Galveston, all through the southern region of Texas, like in that area of San Antonio, you've got a large Army and a large Air Force presence. Coast Guard is 4 or 5 hours away. So more than likely, I'm willing to bet those crews were coming off the Texas coast. That's how far inland. Like if you think about it in terms of Georgia, like when you think about you're at the Georgia coast and where you can get to within about 5 hours, first off, you're barely a little ways into Texas. Okay? Like from the coast to San Antonio is about 4 or 5 hours. And if you want to go north all the way to Oklahoma, that's about another 7 or 8 hours.
Jeez.
Like that's how big the state is. So they're operating in a pretty wide area. And for what it sounds like from just taking a look, because I saw Georgetown, they had the mayor of Georgetown, Texas. That is a community that is a little bit north of Austin. That's also one of that kind of that edge of the Texas Hill Country as well. It's like the central part of it. You're talking about a destruction area that's basically from what I would say south of the airport up through like Cumming.
Goodness gracious.
I mean, that's the largest of area they're operating in. Yeah, you're talking about an hour and a half worth of space. If you're talking from like the San Antonio area all the way to Georgetown, which is just north of Austin, that's the disaster area you're dealing with.
It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. We certainly keep those folks in our thoughts and prayers, and do not pay attention to the ghouls that are on social media, and there's plenty of them that are out there just celebrating the fact that these people have perished. And there's this one woman who's working with the government somehow or other, who is just talking about how this was just a bunch of white kids and a bunch of Christians. Doesn't matter. Who cares? They got what they deserved. It was just as awful as it sounds as me saying it right now. But pay no mind to them, because they are the extreme minority, I do believe.
Absolutely. And, that's that old phrase, never let a tragedy go to waste.
Yeah.
But another touch point for the show, one of our friends, Neil Bortz, his brother lives in Hunt, Texas.
Okay.
And we'll talk to him tomorrow at about 7:25. He had to evacuate from the floods.
Wow. So I'm sure he'll have plenty to share with us as well. But thoughts and prayers with those folks. I want to play you something that, gosh, it just gave me cold chills on Independence Day. Speaker Johnson, Mike Johnson, he's telling it like it really is. He rebukes the communist who wants to destroy America. Listen to what he said.
See, the powerful thing about that is we're the first nation in the history of the world that acknowledged that our rights do not derive from government. They come from God himself. Those words up there, that motto, it says, "In God we trust," right above the speaker's rostrum. You know, a previous Congress put that there in the early 60s in the height of the Cold War. There's a little visitor's guide that people get when you do tours late at night. You've probably seen your constituents and visitors and friends get the guide. If you turn, I think it's about to page 21. It explains why that's there. And it says, Congress voted to put that there as a rebuke to the Soviets' worldview at the height of the Cold War. Why? Because communism, socialism, find their root in Marxism. And Marxism begins with the belief that there is no God. It's wrong. And this Congress made a stand those many years ago, and we should do it again. We're different, we're distinct, we're exceptional, because we acknowledge that right there, our motto.
I didn't see that until July.
It doesn't say, "In government we trust." It says, "In God we trust."
Sorry about that false start.
We better remember that.
I didn't see it until July 4th, but it was said on July 3rd. And it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up because we talk about it so much on this show. Why do they go after people of faith? Why did Joe Biden's administration send people, the FBI and officers, to people's house that had been silently praying in front of an abortion clinic? Because they do not see it the way that you and I see it. They do not believe it the way we do. They want you worshiping at the altar of government because that's where their power derives. And you know better, and I know better. And thank God for Speaker Johnson.
I enjoyed that speech on July 3rd because that was his kill shot.
Yeah, it was.
That was his. Yeah, this is passing. This is all done. As much as Hakeem Jeffries can sit there and scream and filibuster and get on his knees and claim all the things he's going to claim, Mike Johnson got up there, and I love how he started off with the big book. Yeah. Like he was getting ready to read through all of it. And he's like, just kidding.
Yeah.
And then goes into the whole diatribe, the whole point of saying, this is a country of faith, is what it is. And so what we're doing, we're largely having to cast our faith that it's going to work. And that we are believing in what we can do as a faith-based country and not as a country that is dependent on government. I mean, that's largely when you get right down to what the BBB is going to be. Yeah, it's government spending, but it's with the idea of what if we deregulate? What if we put more things in the hands of the business owner, the consumer?
Of everyday Americans.
What if we give you those tax breaks that allow you to make your own self-determination?
Which we'll get to in just a second because the tax on tips is a big part of it.
This is what his whole point was. This was his kill shot of saying their way is a way where government is number one.
And it was so funny to see Hakeem Jeffries up there quoting scripture. He was quoting Matthew 25:35. What does the scripture teach us about caring for the poor, the sick, and the afflicted? This was part of his filibuster. And my only question to him is, why all of a sudden do you care about the scripture? Because you never have before. Where does that come from? Are you just using it for political points? Because that's sure what it feels like, sure what it seems like. So it just shows you the different sides of the coin. Just like, and I've quoted it, and Los has brought it up a couple times, Scott Jennings talking about their tent. In one corner is the communists, the other corner is the socialists. That's their tent.
So for anybody who wants to know how we make the bread, how we make the donuts, one of the things that goes on is that we have a shared document, a show run sheet where we just submit all the things we want. And then we let Jerry, as a talented dude, go, let's put this here, let's try this, let's go with this. And that's how everything comes together. Yesterday, the very first thing I was like, I want this piece of audio. And then I already saw it on the sheet and I was like, yes! Because I love that point that he made. He mocked the CNN panel by saying your tent is so big.
Yeah.
You have the communists on one end and the socialists on the other.
What do you have? You have a bunch of people that worship at the altar of government. Back to what Speaker Johnson was saying. He's pointing it out no different than Scott Jennings. He's pointing it out in a different place and in a different way, but he's saying the exact same thing. So let's jump on that. When it comes to working folks under that big tent, that Donald Trump has created. And make no mistake, it's not the Republican Party that's created it. It's Donald Trump that's created it. You have to give him the credit because he's the one that has done this.
It was such a good idea when he brought it up on the campaign trail. Kamala Harris, within 1 week, started talking about no tax on tips. Now, the idea, first off, I mean, I don't know anyone who ever points out, well, here's what I made in tips. But if you're ever audited, let's face it, if you're a tip-oriented employee and you end up putting a certain amount of thousands of dollars in your bank account, yet you're only claiming that I made this much, well, that's the perfect way to be audited, especially with the 78,000 IRS people that were put into play. With no tax on tips, I went and pulled directly from the document because I saw how, it's only going to apply to these people and you'll have to change it. These are all just talking point lies. All right, the very foundation of it says, in general, there shall be allowed a deduction in the amount for equal to the qualified tips receiving during the taxable year, and then it goes into the numbers of what of when those tax years are. And it points out the deduction. Now, the deduction, as far as your tax on tips, cannot exceed $25,000 is what it is. The amount allowed as a deduction under this section for a taxable year shall not exceed $25,000. That's the area where you're not going to be taxed. It also points out that if you're somebody who makes, let's just say you made $125,000 in whatever business oriented you were in, and you made another $25,000 in tips, that $25,000 will not be touched. And that, here's the point, $100 for each $1,000 by which the taxpayer's modified adjusted gross income exceeds $150,000. So if you made $151,000 and $26,000 were in tips, the first $25,000 deductible.
It's free and clear.
The last $1,000 you pay $100 on. This is not complicated, and yet you then had the left running around trying to tell you all about how this doesn't apply, or it removes these deductions, or it changes. Listen, it's the bill. I'm reading directly from it. And if you happen to be filing joint, it's $300,000.
$300,000, which is obvious. That makes sense.
You laid that out so politely and just simply.
Simply. It's not difficult when you get into the text of this.
And we've got the audio that you sent in of the young lady who was a little confused.
All right, so the young lady who's a little confused, keep in mind, in this, because it goes through what qualifies, leading all up to this, it goes to what qualifies as tips. Now, this leftist, this nut, was under the impression that the federal government looked at tips differently. Take a listen.
If you weren't so gullible, you would know that it's no tax on cash tips. That's great. Everyone uses a card.
And if you weren't so stupid and suffering from alcoholism because your husband divorced you, you would know that the IRS's definition of cash tips include those received directly from customers and electronically paid tips.
She actually thought it was only cash oriented.
Of course.
Now, it does point out, like, if you were to be given, like, let's say I gifted you a car as a tip. Okay, that's different. But anything that is electronically or cash paid to you is all considered tips.
And who's getting a tip of a car? You know what I mean? Really?
But okay, so
no, it's a great example.
Re-rack that audio one more time, Jerry, because this is the fun part about it. She actually was under the impression that if I paid with a debit card and put a $10 tip, that would not apply to this. Take a listen to her standpoint.
If you weren't so gullible, you would know that it's no tax on cash tips. That's great. Everyone uses a card.
And if you weren't so stupid and suffering from alcoholism because your husband divorced you, you would know that the IRS's definition of cash tips include those received directly from customers and electronically paid tips.
He added a little extra sauce on that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's taking shots and being divorced.
But this is what happens on these. They get around on Blue Sky, and this is what they start talking about, and they create their own narrative and their own truth.
Emotional.
Which all you have to do, even when you're highly intoxicated on Saturday night, and I was, you just go to the bill and read it. Right. It only takes 3 minutes. I was like, you know what? Can't wait to get back out to the pool on Sunday. we're going to do some fun drinking tonight. And so me and my wife were like, yeah, we're having a good time. This is what's happening. I go down to the basement. I'm finishing off some stuff. And then as I'm seeing all these things trickle in, I'm like, well, I'm going to set this record straight.
Yeah, let's make sure we know.
How does it only take me 3 minutes, yet you spend it's an effort thing. It's all it is. These people would rather echo chamber each other on Blue Sky than to actually look up and read the bill.
She has no idea what she's talking about. She's a woman that is very, very upset, very angry. You can tell, like most liberal women are. And probably that dude's right. Has either been left or doesn't have a husband. I would contend probably never been married. Lots of cats.
One of the other issues, like I had somebody who tried to bring up like, well, that changes the standard deductions. I go, do you recognize? And I was like, and clearly you don't because you're not looking it up. Standard deduction only shows up one time in the bill, and it has nothing to do with what you're bringing up.
Dude, they don't have to look because on Blue Sky, they're going to pat each other on the back and tell each other how smart they are. Man, this is amazing. These stupid conservatives, these stupid Trump Republicans, they'll have no idea, but boy, they'll find out soon, won't they? Ha, 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 ha. Just like the audio said. Not much going to change there. 8 o'clock hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT. CentralHeat.com is their website. When we come back, Obama's legacy is being dismantled by Trump. And Barack Obama, he's not standing by. He's not going to wait idly as it happened. He's fighting back, trying to derail what Donald Trump is succeeding doing. Next on the Morning Extra.
Extra 106.3 is Atlanta's home for NASCAR, and we have live races every weekend from across the country. Check out extra1063.com for the full schedule and join us this weekend for live NASCAR action.
Braves fans can enjoy games all summer long at Truist Park with the T-Mobile Summer Steal Deal. With the Summer Steal, you can choose from one of 3 seating locations for any regular season game, weekends included, and receive a ticket, snack, and a drink for as low as $30. Or if you prefer something different, you can choose any menu item up to $12. Visit Braves.com/steal to purchase your tickets today. Atlanta Braves baseball. We are Braves country.
This is Window Nation, your source for affordable replacement windows at the highest quality. So if you've got old, drafty, sticking, or leaking windows, you need the experienced pros at Window Nation. You can pay a lot less and still get the premium windows you're dreaming of. Their custom windows are guaranteed to be a perfect fit, and they're backed by the best warranty in the industry. Go to GetWindowNation.com or call 866-90Nation for your free estimate. And for a limited time, get 50% off all window styles, plus pay no interest for 5 years.
Santa's traded in his sleigh for a surfboard. This is Jaron Solomon, and it's Christmas in July at Solomon Brothers Jewelers. We're turning up the holiday cheer with 31% off every single item in our specially marked trays. That's right, rings, necklaces, earrings, every type of jewelry we carry is included. It's not just holiday hype, it's the real deal, inspired by 31 days of July and packed with serious sparkle. Come see why we're Atlanta's only 5-star rated jeweler with over 3,000 glowing reviews. The preferred jeweler of the Atlanta Braves, a proud partner of the Georgia Bulldogs, and the official jeweler of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. For 31% off during Christmas in July. So come see us on the 17th floor of Tower Place in Buckhead, on Old Milton Parkway in Alpharetta, and off Fisher Crossing Drive in Sharpsburg, right across from the Costco. Online at SolomonBrothers.com.
It's July 7th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Father-Daughter Take a Walk Day. She may not be daddy's little girl forever, so today is meant to reinforce that relationship. The late NBA Hall of Famer Kobe Bryant referred to himself as a girl dad. So take a walk in a park or just in your local neighborhood, because those memories will last a lifetime. Also on this date, 1928, the first loaf of sliced bread was sold at the Chillicothe Baking Company in Missouri. Otto Rohvetter invented the first bread slicing machine for his friend who owned the bakery. The machine produced uniform slices, which would also then spur sales of toasters. And in 1981, President Ronald Reagan kept a campaign promise to nominate a woman for the Supreme Court, announcing his intention to nominate Sandra Day O'Connor to the highest court in the country. The Senate would overwhelmingly confirm her nomination later that year, making O'Connor the first woman to ever serve on the bench. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute. It's take two for the husband of a woman who disappeared on Mother's Day 2020. Barry Morphew is being charged again with first-degree murder in Suzanne Morphew's death. 3 years after the initial case against him was dropped because of concerns with the evidence. A year after prosecutors dropped their case, Suzanne's remains were discovered accidentally. A 2024 autopsy report shows Suzanne died of unspecified means, but ruled her death a homicide, citing traces of a drug cocktail used to tranquilize wildlife, something Barry had a prescription for. A forensic anthropologist says it's likely her body decomposed elsewhere before moving to the site where her remains were found. Barry has maintained his innocence ever since his wife disappeared. His lawyer telling Fox News Digital, quote, "The case has not changed and the outcome will not either." There's more on this story at foxnews.com or subscribe to the Fox True Crime Podcast. I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Monday, July 7th. The Cobb County School District is considering a property tax increase. The increase would be due to keeping the millage rate flat at 18.7 mils as property values have increased all across the county. School Board Chair David Chastain said a rollback is unlikely. The board will hold 3 sessions to receive public comments starting July 11th at the board office on Glover Street. 2 Bartow County Sheriff's deputies are being acknowledged for their heroic efforts in confronting the shooter at Appalachia High School last fall. Deputies Chase Boyd and Brandon King will receive the National Association of School Resource Officers Award of Valor in Dallas, Texas today. The Bartow County Sheriff Judd Smith was also recently named Georgia Sheriff of the Year. And the famous Budweiser Clydesdale horses are coming to town. The 8-horse team is making an appearance in downtown Smyrna on Friday as part of Major League Baseball's All-Star Game festivities. Today's weather, mostly sunny, dry, and very hot. Temperatures will reach the mid-90s. More storms are on the way later this week. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. 8 o'clock hour brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta Carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com. Can you imagine back about this time, rewind back to 2016, and Barack Obama was thinking, man, how do I get Donald Trump? How do I fix his little red wagon? I mean, I've got to come up with something good. This guy seems like he's the antithesis of me. He really loves this country.
It's a big, beautiful red wagon.
That's right. As they're going to get it fixed. It's going to be the best ever. Best you've ever seen. But that's exactly what Barack Obama was doing. He was plotting and scheming. And now, as we sit here today, seeing his legacy dismantled by Donald Trump.
So we now have this from the New York Post. And this ends up being from the Situation Room. August 3rd, 2016. Now, you might say, you're in the Situation Room. Are we dealing with terrorism?
Have to be, right?
Are we dealing with a weather-related disaster?
Must be.
Are we dealing with an economic situation that might require us to be in contact with other nations to figure out what to do?
Yes, it's got to be. It's got to be it.
No. In this case, this was John Brennan who handpicked, this according to the article, CIA analyst to compile the ICA and involved only a handful of federal agencies and had Clapper, Comey, and Obama in it, deciding, quote, we're going to screw Trump.
Literally saying it out loud. We got to come up with something, boys. This is going to be bad. He's going to be bad for us. He's going to be bad for the Democrat Party. He's going to be bad for our power, our money. We got to figure out how to get him. We're going to screw Trump. An actual quote.
This ended up going all the way down to, remember how Robert Mueller, he's going to get Donald Trump. He's got all the goods. And Robert Mueller got up in front of Congress and didn't have anything there because there was nothing. That's what it was. They spent millions in taxpayer money to prove that Donald Trump was a Russian agent. Never happened.
And it's all based on the Steele dossier, which had been discredited to begin with. And they even said, we're not using that. No, that's not even part of
that's not. That's look at this part of this reporting. Yes. Everyone's looking into this. They were feeding both ends of the trough here. But again, on August 3rd, 2016, even Barack Obama was sitting in on a meeting where they were figuring out, how do we derail Trump? Because he's talking about the one thing that doesn't work for any of us, a populist movement. He's talking about nationalism. And so as we're going into the summer, remember, Hillary Clinton's supposed to win, an 88% chance of winning.
They told you. Expect it. It's coming.
They had to have known from their own internals that this was a lot closer. Otherwise, you're not holding a meeting on August 3rd of 2016, just a couple months out from an election, and trying to figure out how do we take out the Republican candidate. Now, keep in mind, this is par for the course. If you go back to the Barack Obama history, when he was running for state senator in Illinois, he was able to get his opponent removed from the ballot. This is what this man does. Remember, this became a Democrat tactic and largely an Obama tactic.
Holy cow.
What did they do to Donald Trump in Colorado?
Yep,
What was it also Maine?
Yep, get him taken off the ballot.
Taken off the ballot as an insurrectionist.
But think about what they did to their own party, taking people off the ballot.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders was leading Hillary Clinton, and they yanked it out from under him.
They have been used to pulling out the anointing oil and deciding who's going to be the person. This is not, for as much as they want to talk about protecting democracy, this hadn't been democracy for a long time on their side. They select their kings and queens. And to think their internals, I have to believe it, their internals were so bad during the summer, or at least worrisome, that they held a meeting in the Situation Room to figure out how to derail Donald Trump.
And it's so interesting that they chose that room, knowing what really goes or should be really going on. But for them, Los, it was a war. For them, it was that serious that they had to figure out a way to eliminate Donald Trump, and later they would really try to eliminate him. But you know how that turned out. Changed man in the field in Pennsylvania. But in the Situation Room, that's the thing that pours over me. I can't help but notice, because this is how serious it was to them.
Now, if you want to find this, it's Obama's Trump-Russian collusion report was corrupt from the start, a CIA review. Now, this is Miranda Devine who wrote this. You would know her from Laptop from Hell.
Yeah, she's genius.
She was the person who covered that entire story.
And one of the only.
And one of the only people that was like, this laptop's real, y'all. Like, this is real. Here's what we have here.
She was taking punches left and right for saying it.
Well, remember, the post got removed from X leading up to the election.
Yeah.
Like, they made it a point.
Twitter.
Yeah, they made it a point under Twitter 1.0.
You cannot say this.
You cannot possibly have this out there, that this could be damaging to Joe Biden. So we got to take it off of X. Got to take it off of old Twitter. But so, yeah, this is tradecraft stuff that they were doing on how to derail this guy in 2016. And when it didn't work, all they did was amplify it. And now we actually have the whistleblowers and the reports and a CIA who's now going, yeah, here's what they did.
Evil genius. Barack Obama. I don't care what you think about him. I don't like him either. I don't agree with him. He is an evil genius, because pulling this off was no easy feat. Look at all the things that they had to be in control of to make this even seem like a reality, that it could even be possible, Los. To be able to see that many plays ahead, what they needed to do, who they needed to exclude, who they needed to include, to amplify, to take away. All the steps.
When you read through this article, and keep in mind, it's from Miranda Devine, New York Post. It talks about the review of what went on during that time period by the CIA. It said, quote, multiple procedural anomalies. And then it talks about a compressed timeline. Basically, what they're trying to say is this within the article. The information that was used to create Russian collusion was done so haphazardly, so awkwardly, that they're like, it has to be purely political. As it goes through it, the rush timeline, this is a quote from the article, the rush timeline to publish both classified and unclassified versions before the presidential transition raised questions about a potential political motive behind the White House tasking and timeline.
Dude, it's unbelievable. The capability to be able to pull it off, even if it was haphazardly, because it
treason.
It totally is.
You went 100%. After a duly elected American president.
But look at the group of people that are a part of this, and how many people that were treasonous.
So filthy. Obama, Comey,
Clinton,
Clapper, Brennan,
all of them. Hillary,
Clinton.
Oh my gosh! Think about the amount of people that, if this were, I don't know, 1779. would be hanging. They would hang them for this.
This is why Election Day, Inauguration Day, I brought up I wanted an honest American government. Now, I was not looking to know where all the bodies were buried, but if you want to tell me that, that's cool. But I was just talking about an upfront, honest American, at least an administration. And I believe that what we've gotten so far is an administration that says, here's our goal, here's how we intend to do it, and we're going to try and make this happen. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, they've been, we've got to change course. Like, I know what's going on. I can easily explain what's going on within the administration and the federal government under this version of Donald Trump. That's all I ever asked for. The golden age of America is being honest with America to a point. You're not going to tell them about what day we're going to hit Iran or stuff like that. But here's what our goal is. Here's how we're going to do it. Need-to-know basis. Right.
A need-to-know basis.
To think that you had a previous group under Barack Obama and then under Joe Biden, who was under Barack Obama, that their entire job was, how do we use Soviet-style politics to jail our opponent, end his movement, and imprison anyone who votes for him? That's what they were doing.
That's how filthy it is. And none of them will ever apologize for it.
Or kill him.
Yeah, or because that was the next iteration, for sure. Even Benedict Arnold, when he died, he said, let me die in my old uniform, which I fought battles for freedom. May God forgive me for putting on any other. That's what a traitor to the United States actually said on his deathbed. A traitor that has gone down in history as the worst American of all time. A traitor. And he, at least at the end of his life, was like, I was wrong. I did wrong. I hope they forgive me. The clowns that we just wrapped off, Obama, Clapper, Comey, Hillary, who am I leaving out? I'm leaving another one out, but that group, they still act like they have the high road. They still act like that we're in the wrong. They're still saying the January 6ers belong in jail and under the jail.
Not that we'll ever be able to exact treasonous justice on any of these people.
None. Zero. They won't be held to any account, I don't believe.
But it does make me think about all those people at Nuremberg that as they hung the Nazis, their last thing was Heil Hitler.
They were married to it.
Yeah. I was like, they would all go to their death saying, I was trying to save the Republic. Not even the Republic. I was trying to save democracy.
Democracy. That's what they would use.
That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to save democracy. Donald Trump's going to ruin democracy. They bought... I wonder how many of them are the true zealots that believe that, or is it just power?
You wouldn't find out unless they were standing right there about to be hung.
I would imagine so.
That's when you will find out the truth.
Because again, under our system of government, under our laws of the land, one of the ways that we deal with treason is you get hung.
Yeah.
Now, we don't do that anymore, but...
We should.
We haven't done that since, the 1940s, 1930s? We're selling state secrets?
We should start it again. I'm telling you.
It was treasonous.
It totally was.
When you read through this,
it'll always be treasonous.
The CIA, it's not me. The CIA reviewed it and said, yeah, this is bad. This is what they did. They actually sat on August 3rd, 2016 in the Situation Room and tried to figure out how to take out the Republican.
Use the right word. How do we screw Donald Trump? That's what the quote was.
That's what the quote was. How do we screw Donald Trump?
Damn. That happened in your White House. That happened in your government.
In your lifetime. This isn't something from 50 years ago.
Or 1780. That's the amazing... Because nobody thinks about... Nobody's going, hey, this is treasonous these days.
So when...
I'm not even sure people understand what that really means.
So here's the slippery slope. When you allow them to do this...
And get away with it.
And when this does occur, why do you think they'd ever have a problem installing a president that couldn't function? Like they could already do this.
Because they had a board of directors who were going to pull all the levers anyway.
We can already do this. What limit is there to our power?
And we've already done this.
Right. We can do whatever we want. There is no limit. And that's what you're reinstalling in this country. This next version of America should be that there are limits, that especially when it comes to the administration and when it comes to that West Wing, there are limits to what this person can do under the law. Because the previous one, he wasn't even functioning.
And they didn't care.
But they had gotten away with stuff since 2016. They're like, we're good, we're fine, we run this thing.
Dude, this is our shop. This is us. This is what we're going to do. And we're going to get away with it. Gosh, it's unbelievable, dude. It really is unbelievable to think that we lived through it. We saw it firsthand. And here's the question I have, ultimately. know they're not going to be punished. Nothing's going to happen to these people. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it.
Not at all.
What will the history books reflect? That's what I want to know. That's the question. Because what will your kids... But no, actually, let me go back. What will your grandkids be taught?
Yeah.
Will they be taught the truth of what actually happened? Or will they be taught the talking point, the narrative?
You have to hang around long enough to explain all this.
Because you're going to have a lot of people. Dude, depending on how it's written in the book, you're going to have a lot of people to explain it to.
How it's written.
You're going to have a lot of people to explain it to. And it all probably depends on how long Republicans are in power. Is J.D. Vance next? After that, is it Marco Rubio? And then is it DeSantis? Are we there long enough to have even the history books tell it right? That's the question. When we continue on Extra 106.3, the disgusting Democrat response to the Texas flooding. Tug and Los until 10.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Monday, July 7th. The Atlanta Braves were swept at home by the Baltimore Orioles. Over the weekend, the team is off today before starting the final 6 games before the All-Star break. All 6 on the road, beginning tomorrow night with the Braves in Vegas to play the Athletics. Around the National League East, the Washington Nationals have fired manager Dave Martinez, along with club president Mike Rizzo, as the team is looking for a fresh start. Martinez won a World Series as the manager of the team back in 2019. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Hey, this is Matt from East Cobb. We basically bought our house from our in-laws. It was my wife's childhood home. One of the issues that we've had when we first moved in was our dog in our backyard. It was extremely shaded, could never grow grass back there. We resodded it twice. So ATL Turf Co. did an amazing job with our backyard transformation. They basically created a miniature golf hole. We have a miniature fairway. We also have a miniature little putting green. Consists of about 4 holes, total about 40 yards, so you can definitely work on your short game and your putting. After that transformation that ATL Turf Co. did for us, my father-in-law came and saw his house the way it looked after the fact of we had a putting green and a miniature golf course. Sure enough, he did the same thing with ATL Turf Co. He has a beautiful backyard, wonderful stonework, drainage, and a beautiful practice area for chipping and putting. Check him out online at atlturfco.com.
Good morning, Mike. What you eating?
You gotta try this.
I can hear you crunching from the next cube over.
This is amazing. I just discovered it this weekend at Lidl. It's Greek Goddess Gourmet Granola. They were sampling it, so I tried it. Then I bought 6 bags.
Wow. Is it cereal?
Can be. Or an amazing trail mix. It's great for a meal or a snack.
What's in it?
Well, they have 2 flavors, maple oat and harvest nut, which is my favorite. It's made with whole grain oats, almonds, pecans, raisins, coconut, and the sweet taste of pure maple syrup. Maple oat is a simpler take on their delicious granola. It's got wholesome oats, plump raisins, coconut, and maple syrup.
That sounds healthy and delicious.
That's why I can't stop crunching, Susan.
Greek Goddess Gourmet Granola. It's a breakfast or on-the-go snack you can feel good about. It's dairy-free and gluten-free, and with only 2 grams of added sugar per serving, even your belly will love it. Pick some up at Lidl, Amazon, GreekGoddessGourmet.com, or at specialty stores near you.
It's July 7th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Father-Daughter Take a Walk Day. She may not be daddy's little girl forever, so today is meant to reinforce that relationship. The late NBA Hall of Famer Kobe Bryant referred to himself as a girl dad. So take a walk in a park or just in your local neighborhood, because those memories will last a lifetime. Also on this date, in 1928, the first loaf of sliced bread was sold at the Chillicothe Baking Company in Missouri. Otto Rohvetter invented the first bread slicing machine for his friend who owned the bakery. The machine produced uniform slices, which would also then spur sales of toasters. And in 1981, President Ronald Reagan kept a campaign promise to nominate a woman for the Supreme Court, announcing his intention to nominate Sandra Day O'Connor to the highest court in the country. The Senate would overwhelmingly confirm her nomination later that year, making O'Connor the first woman to ever serve on the bench. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
6-year-old twin boys from Pittsburgh who are spreading sunshine in a cup makes today's Dean's List. Major and Makai Muhammad have been serving lemonade every weekend to help bring the community together. Their refreshing beverage isn't just from a package. Along with help from mom, the kids make the lemonade from scratch and say the best part of selling it is making people smile. Their mom, Sahira, has been helping with their project, teaching them the lessons about the value of operating a business, along with having confidence and discipline at such a young age. The price is whatever someone can give, making sure everyone is able to take a sip of their sweet drink. The Steel City Twins, as they are known on Instagram, are quickly becoming celebrities in their neighborhood with thousands of followers on social media. They say they just want to spread happiness and sunshine one cup at a time. Major and Makai, you made today's Dean's List. Keep up the smiles and the good work. Janice Dean, Fox News.
Extra 106.3 personalities aren't afraid to tell it like it is.
Without Donald Trump, nothing that's going on would be happening right now. Donald Trump is changing the world.
And you'll never hear us spew that violent rhetoric from the left. So don't be afraid to tell it like it is. Because we're happy to have you as part of the Extra community.
I particularly like Donald Trump's actions in getting illegal aliens the hell out of this country.
Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. Download the app so you can listen live and on demand. A pediatrician fired for vile post about the devastating Texas floods. Her quote, Trump supporters get what they voted for. Get what they voted for. These are children that have never voted a day in their lives.
This just, it confuses me so much. Every bad thing in the world that happens is Trump's fault from these people.
Well, and think about
it's
this.
weather.
But think about this even more. Los, that was a pediatrician.
This is why they're the 19%, man. This is why this is going on.
A doctor for children said they got what they deserved.
Because what is he first and foremost?
He's Hitler. He's evil. He's a dictator.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the doctor. Like you say he's a doctor, a pediatrician.
Sorry.
She, first and foremost, she's a communist.
Yeah, but it's obvious.
First and foremost, this is what she is. It's ideology before everything, no matter what. As much as you'll have people that say, well, why does that judge do that? Well, what do they believe? I mean, they happened to put on the robe, but it didn't change the fact that that's what they believe. Just because she has a stethoscope doesn't change what she believes and what she's interested in. She's all about the destruction of her political opponent, first and foremost, no matter what.
But we always believe doctors know all. We always put so much credence into what doctors say. Like, we're learning we can't do that. But look, how long have people done it?
I've been at that for a while.
Right. But how long have people done that? You and I know. We've talked about it a million times. Let me read her full post.
Yeah, go for it.
May all visitors, children, and non-MAGA voters and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts. That's as filthy and as ugly and as disgusting as I don't even believe there's 19% of people that would support that.
I would certainly hope not. But when you go through how these people reacted, I would ask this. Have they no soul?
No. The answer is no, they don't.
Okay, no,
they can't.
I can't imagine there being like a camp in like the outskirts of San Francisco and something like this happens. And I think, well, that's what they get for supporting Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah. Can you...
Like, what warped sense of view must you have to celebrate the deaths of children?
And I'll show you one. This is the little girl. This is one.
Awful.
That
I can't even look at most of those pictures.
This is a little girl that has been lost. We know. She's one of the campers that lost her. 8 years old. As cute as she can be, in her little cheerleading uniform on a football field, standing on the 10-yard line. And that pediatrician who is supposed to administer health and life-saving medicine is going to say that little girl that I'm looking at right now, that is as precious as any angel I've ever seen in my whole life, that woman could say, yep, I'm okay with that.
And then they create their own echo chambers of where they can be right and justified. Like, I would imagine if I went over to Blue Sky, and I don't really have a need to.
No.
But I would imagine, and maybe I'll dig into it, that entire narrative that the National Weather Service had already been cut, and that's why this happened. Like, do you realize at that point, all you have to do is if you happen to have a Google machine around, I don't know, most all of you have it in your pocket.
That's right.
You would know that doesn't go into effect until October, and it certainly doesn't apply to the situation. As someone who grew up in this region of Texas, what I will tell you is that when these things occur, they occur fast, and even people that are aware, cognizant, prepared, it can overwhelm you. That's what happened here. This was not because Donald Trump made cuts to this. You can go through the timeline. There were extra meteorologists on board, and they had warnings as even as short of a time of 3 hours ahead of time, as long as 12 hours ahead of time. Hey, we got a flash flood watch and a warning going on. Get geared up. Get ready.
If you have to look for something, and I wrote down what you said, right and justified. I wrote that down. If you have to look for something that proves you right and to justify what you're saying or doing, that automatically tells you you're wrong. If you have to search for it, if it's not blatantly clear, then something's wrong with you, because there's nothing right about what that woman said. There's nothing that will justify what that woman said. And if she's looking for it, she's just wrong. And that's why she was fired. That's the silver lining.
Yes, she lost her position because of that.
She literally got her ass kicked out the door because people were like, you are vile.
How can you, as a pediatrician, how can you be somebody who claims to care for children, yet you celebrated the death of children because you believe it fit your politics?
That's as gross and as ghoulish.
That's a warped person.
Dude, that's why their tent is shrinking and shrinking, because there's fewer and fewer of her. There's fewer. There's very few people that feel that way, I believe. And if there's more than that, then they're smart enough to sit on their hands and sit this one out.
There are certain elements of this that are completely off limits, where I'm like, okay, that's a tragedy. Like, that's awful. The death of children, I don't care under what circumstances. Ever. It's like, that is a no-go zone.
Because what is it that's going to come out of that that's positive? By celebrating the death of children. Tell me how you can paint that in a positive light.
One of the stories I remember listening to, it was the Sean Ryan podcast, and he had Tom Homan. And Tom Homan talked about his, I'll put it, life on the beat. He's a police officer, but then working the ground floor of when it came to ICE and, handling illegal immigration and everything else. And he told this horrible story about what happened where there was a 16-wheeler and there was no AC, and the driver ended up panicking. And this is before that scenario ever happened in San Antonio. This was like 20 some years ago. Mm-hmm. And the driver panicked, dropped the load, took off. And these people suffocated to death, and there was a child in there. And he talked about what he had seen. And that always stuck with him as to why. It's like, he didn't care about where you were from, didn't care about your political ideology, didn't care that you it's like, this should not happen to children. Like, that's a no-go zone. And for him, why does he get up every day and try and defend the border in the way that he does and try and stop the illegal smuggling of children? Because of what he saw 20-some years ago.
And evidence of that is that he's worked under both administrations,
yeah,
Democrat and Republican.
You hire me to do this job, I'm going to make sure I do it.
Because I've seen the ills of this.
Because politics does not come into play for him. It's just the job. And that pediatrician, shame on her. Because it should have been just about the job of taking care of kids.
She's looking for a new job. And it couldn't have happened to a better person. I would never cheer for somebody to lose their job.
I hope she learned something from this that's profound and lasts for the rest of her life.
You have to. How can you not? How can you not sit back after you've been fired for saying something so vile? How can you not sit back and go, I got to examine myself?
I would hope that there's a red pill moment. Like, I remember one time, and this has been 15, 20 years ago. I remember a couple times I was watching Fox News before bed, and my wife told me, you realize, like, you go to bed all worked up? That was that moment of going, yeah, I don't need that stuff. That's why I tell you, I don't watch any network television. I don't watch any news television. I watch when we're in here in the morning because that's what's on. But that was that moment of, you know what, you're right. Hopefully that woman gets that you're right moment. This should not be dominating the way that it is.
That's such a good positive way to end this. You nailed it, dude. You're exactly right. If she learns from it, because we all have to go through bad things. We always have to go through valleys to be able to recognize when things are really good when you're on the mountaintop. And I hope that for her. Because I got to tell you, I was ready to spit nails, Los. I was ready to let her just go. And I'm glad you said what you did. That there could be positive that come out of this. Funny to hear the first family of rock and roll comment on Donald Trump. I didn't know that I would hear it. Didn't expect it to hear it. But I did. Debate next after a Fox News update and a Neil Bortz report on Xtra 106.3.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 106.3.
Now, I'm not thrilled with everything Trump is doing. For instance, saying how much he hates Democrats. Pities them? That's fine. Hate? What's the point there? Look at the poor Democrat Party. For years, they told us nothing could be done about illegal immigration unless they passed some more bills in Congress. How long did it take Trump to put the lie to that? 2 days, I believe. And instead of giving Iran billions of dollars, like previous Democrat presidents did, Trump gave him a couple of bunker busters. The public loves it. Democrats are so frustrated. They have no legislative agenda. All they can do is file lawsuits. Who are the two most prominent Democrats in the country right now? AOC is one of them, and Zoran Mamdani the other. That Muslim Democrat socialist candidate for mayor in New York City. I so intensely hope that he wins. Turn over one of the most important financial centers in the world to a Democratic socialist. Let's see how that works. And let's see what's he going to do. Oh, he wants to raise taxes on white people. Not everybody in the neighborhood, just the white people in the neighborhood. Yeah, that ought to work. One of my favorites is government-owned grocery stores. Yep, he wants government-owned and operated grocery stores in all of New York's 5 boroughs. The same people that operate our government schools, he wants them to operate grocery stores. So help me with this, folks. If you have any relatives or friends in New York, tell them how much you support Mamdani and that you really hope he wins the mayorship. What a show that'll be. And Democrats have richly earned it. Neil Bortz, Xtra 106.3.
The Democrats want the federal government to stop arresting illegal criminals who are here illegally.
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Xtra 106.3 and the Xtra app. The Morning Xtra, every weekday morning from 6 to 10 on WFOM and W292 EV Marietta on Dickey Broadcasting Station, Xtra 106.3.
Unimaginable tragedy. I'm Chris Foster. Fox News Camp Mystic in Hunt, Texas says in a statement it's grieving the loss of 27 campers and counselors in Friday's flash flooding. The co-owner of the 99-year-old girls' Christian summer camp is dead. Camp counselor Catherine Somerville on Fox.
Dick Eastland was one of the most selfless men in the whole world. He was a inspiration to so many. He was a father figure, a comforting force, and in the uncertainty of everything.
And all these 82 deaths are confirmed now in Texas as search and rescue operations continue, and there's more rain and flooding in the forecast today. President Trump says letters announcing trading partners' tariff rates start going out today at noon Eastern, and he's threatening an extra import tax on members of the BRICS trade alliance, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The president meets this evening with Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu.
The president says a deal with Gaza is close and there's a good chance that it happens this week. He previously told reporters that he was very firm with Netanyahu about the need to end the war, and he added that Netanyahu wants that too. And the hope is this deal, if it comes through, will involve a 60-day ceasefire where Hamas releases 10 living and 18 deceased hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners. Israeli forces would withdraw to a buffer zone, and UN agencies and Palestinian Red Crescent would deliver aid.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich. An Australian woman, Erin Patterson, is convicted of murdering her estranged husband's parents and aunt with poisonous mushrooms in a lunch she served in 2023.
She argued it was an accident and lied out of panic, insisting she loved her in-laws and had no reason to kill them. Patterson will have 28 days to appeal against her conviction.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. A Justice Department report says there is no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein had a client list used to blackmail powerful people, and confirms he killed himself in his cell in 2019 while awaiting trial on federal sex trafficking charges. America's listening to Fox News.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Get the Extra 1063 app.
Yeah, I got your app. I'm so glad Conservative Talk is back on the air.
We are too, and it's all because of you. You supporting this radio station is the most important thing that has happened in the last 4 years. Los never expected to be talking about politics. He expected he'd be talking about the Braves.
Not in front of a microphone.
Not, exactly. Not at all. Nor did I. I thought I'd be doing country music for the rest of my life. And then it turns out not to be the case. I still do country music, and I talk politics. Los still does sports, and he talks about politics. We just never expected it to do it together here at this time in front of you. And because of your support that we're so grateful for, this station continues to grow, and it continues to be successful. And whether you're listening on the app, 1063, 1230, or extra1063.com, thank you. That's all we can say is thank you, because I see the numbers. Los sees the numbers. They continue to grow daily. We'd like to thank the ladies that are listening, because oftentimes stations like this don't have a huge listening audience of women. This station is different.
Yeah, we do very well with men and very well with women, it's just surprising given that when it comes to politics, women are always interested, women are always involved, but they are typically not driving your numbers. Ours are being driven in part because men and women have decided that this is a place where we can have honest conversations.
And you can be part of it at 404-741-1230, at Extra 1063 across the social media platforms. Interact with you there too. It is, it's yours. If there's something that we should be talking about that we're not, please call us. If there's something that we have wrong, please call us. Let's debate it. Let's talk about it.
There is something that we have not gotten a chance to get into today.
What's that?
Do I really live in a world where, because I tell you, I call balls and strikes accordingly. If I see something and go, okay, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Do I really live in a world where there are people that are in prison for human trafficking, yet they were trafficked to no one? Because that's what I was told last night when there is no Epstein client list.
No.
It's like, oh, really?
Something don't feel right about that.
Feels very strange that there are a number of victims. There are people that have been imprisoned for this, and yet we don't have a list. That was the moment last night where I go, what are you trying to tell me here?
And that's the part where I get a little sideways, because even the people that I like, and I don't know that I ever trust anybody in D.C. fully, even the people I like, I still go, What is the reason behind making a statement like that? Who are you protecting? Why are you protecting them? What's going? If there's nothing, why did Pam Bondi say otherwise? Why did Kash Patel say otherwise?
Why did they say, in this case, hey, it's on our desk? Pam Bondi told me this information's on her desk. I was told that there is thousands of hours of video and we have to look through it. I was told by Kash Patel directly, we are not going to re-victimize any of these women that have been victims of this, implying that there were women that were raped on that island by people that were associated with Epstein. And yet I get no list, or I get no information.
Yeah. It makes you question everything, as you should. You should question everything. You should always question everything. Even the things you feel certain about, always question them. Because if you don't, you're going to be in that same situation when you're like, man, I feel let down by the people that I trusted the most. I always say, expect the worst, hope for the best. That's the reason.
I've just never heard of sex trafficking women to no one.
To no one. That no one has done anything wrong. There's nobody that's involved. No list, which we know there was a list. Like partially, it's been published partially. What was it? The flight logs.
We only know that Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, is the only person because he ended up paying millions of dollars in a settlement with a woman. Like, that's the only one we know that there was a sexual encounter and that she considered it rape and that his money was to make this go away. And so that's the only one we really have for one of the great mysteries now.
And now it's a dead-end road.
And now it's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Well, and you want to talk about conspiracies growing out of this? That's where it always happens, right? You get just enough of the information to go, well, your brain starts going, okay, if I were trying to protect someone, I would do this, or I do. That's where it all bubbles up from. That's where it all starts.
So I listened to a podcast on the way to Huntsville, Alabama. This was the Joe Pistone, real life Donnie Brasco. Mm-hmm. He was on Rogan. I was like, okay, give me mob stories. I love it. And he was talking about old school mafia, the last 30, 40 minutes of the podcast. He goes, man, these guys would get clipped. They go to, he's always called it, they go to the tank. Mm-hmm. It's like, they're in there for 7 years. They don't say a word. I was like, that's old school gangster. It's like, you don't say a word. He's like, nowadays, guys, they slap the cups on them. They want to talk. Man, Maxwell hasn't said a word. That woman has been in prison. She's going to be in prison for a while. Not a word. Old school gangster. I know some things that could get me killed, in my opinion. I'm not saying a word. That woman, she knows where all the bodies are buried. Never going to hear a word from her.
It was February 21st, 2025, when Pam Bondi said the Epstein files are on her desk under review. Why do we not have anything else? Nothing to see here, no victims, no client list. That's as of yesterday. It's impossible. What is happening under our noses that we have no idea about? Who's protecting these people?
Yes. So this is the U.S. Department of Justice, the FBI. This is Kash Patel. Okay? This is what he's running. The quote in here from yesterday is, this systematic review revealed no incriminating, quote, client list. There is also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. And there it dies. You wonder how much and how many people are being protected with this.
The tentacles are so deep.
Yeah.
The tentacles are so deep. And people that you don't want to think of showing up on that list probably would. If that list existed.
There is no client list.
That's what I'm saying. If a list existed, people that you probably like from Hollywood would end up on said list.
You're seriously telling me? Now, I'm telling you, I don't believe, this is not like the, what was it, Heidi Fleiss? She was the madam that had
Hollywood madam.
She was the Hollywood madam who had a client list that included Charlie Sheen and all these, she had a client list.
Yeah.
I don't believe Epstein probably had a client list. I think if we were talking about a guy who's dealing in tradecraft, you would never have that.
You wouldn't print it out per se.
But you'd know. And there would be people that partook because you can't sexually traffic to no one.
Your cell phone would be a treasure trove. The text messages going back and forth between those people. But the flight logs. How do you say the flight logs? Or there's nothing there. The flight logs. It's just people visiting an island that nothing happened on.
To me, I need something more concrete.
No, I get it. I get it.
A flight log is a flight log.
No, but I'm just saying that shows you the group of people that he was interacting with. You know what he was about. You know what he was arrested for.
But at the same time, I also don't have details on what was a business meeting, what wasn't. Because now I'm talking about everybody. And from the investigation that we've been privy to, it was a very targeted group based on power. So, I mean,
are you starting to buy that there really is nothing?
No.
Okay, because never.
No, I'm just saying that it's unfortunate that we have now reached an area where you now have a multitude of administrations. Like, I'll give you this example. Like, one of the things that you'll have people do, they'll be like, Donald Trump is on that list. He was part of this. If you think that the Democrats had that
and didn't use it,
Epstein's been dead for like 6 years.
Please.
They would have burned him to the ground so quickly with that if they had that.
They made up stuff.
Yes.
You're telling me they had real stuff?
If they had real stuff, here's the video, here's this, there's no way. So anybody who says, like, the only reason you don't hear about that is because Donald Trump's on the list. The Democrats had it for the longest amount of time. This isn't new. And yet, now 2 administrations have decided that there's powerful enough people here that you don't get to anything.
Disappointing.
That part is frustrating.
That is so disappointing.
That's calling balls and strikes the right way, people.
Absolutely it is.
That part's frustrating.
And to think every person from Donald Trump down has said, we're releasing this. We're going to give you all the information. And now we're finding out they're not. It's the first time in 6 months that I've been like, this may not be a win. I don't feel like this part's a win. This is a big loss.
This is a frustration because we are looking for as much honesty as possible. If I'm going, okay, this is the difference. I'm not saying that this all works out if it's Matt Gaetz versus Pam Bondi, but Matt Gaetz was the wild card that the Democrats and Republicans were like,
Both of them said no.
No, he is not going to be the Attorney General. Like, there is no way. Matt Gaetz is way too wild ass for us to do this. And I think we find out everything under Matt Gaetz. Pam Bondi, I think she's smarter about playing the game. And for somebody who told me maybe it was a mistake a couple of months ago, I have it all on my desk. It's under review. You'll find it out. Now we're not. Now we're being told that there was never a client list. And we are also not going to face any sort of prosecution for any third party. And we're definitely not going to get any names at that point.
No, that's dead in the water. It's so disappointing. So disappointing for someone like Kash Patel, who has been so vocal. He was one of the very first people that said, if I were ever in that position, I would give you everything.
Dan Bongino, too.
Bongino, too, dude.
How about this? This is Mark Mitchell, Rasmussen Reports. Remember, the guy who's been the most right about what's going on. His company has been able to find Trump voters and poll them accordingly. What everybody else is missing on, he's getting it.
Yeah.
November 2024, teases major file drop. January 2025, claims client list on desk. February 2025, releases redacted reruns, blames FBI. March of 2025, says truckload of docs is incoming. May 2025, mentions thousands of videos. July 2025, denies client list, no new videos.
How, why? How and why? Want to know? It doesn't change the desire to know. Now I've got too many things. Now I've got an additional thing I want to know why. Like I wanted to know the how and why to begin with, because I wanted those people to be held accountable, just like everything else in Washington. No one's ever held accountable. Fauci's never going to be held accountable. Obama, Hillary, Clapper, Brennan, never be held accountable.
This is hilarious, this tweet. It's not even worth the person, it's no use following him or anything, but this is funny. Nothing ever happens, remains undefeated.
Yeah, that's
exactly what you're saying, Doug. Exactly Nothing's ever going to happen to them. What's the big deal? Yeah. It's totally fine. They're part of the protected class. It's just something we hadn't talked about that as of last night was lighting people up and was lighting our audience on fire. And I was like, you know what? We got to figure out a way to get into this at some point today because it's just so frustrating, true. Man.
So true.
So the commonality between this, the whole Epstein case, everything like that, and the Diddy trial was it was Comey's daughter was the prosecutor on both of them.
I did see that, and that does stand out. I don't know what it means.
No, neither do I, but I don't like the way it smells.
But it does smell horribly. It smells like dead animal that my dog caught in the front yard and rolled around in for an hour.
There is a protected class in this country based on power. That's always going to exist. That's how that's always going to work.
Donald Trump's the outsider, dude.
Yes, he has been the outsider. He's not part of that. I've spent 30 years in the government. Here's what I'm part of. Or I'm the person who funds this stuff. I'm the one who makes it happen. You know, these are the protected areas of our society.
What is it? I mean, there's no way for us to know, but the overarching question is, what is it that is so damning, and who is it that is so important that they can't fall, and they're the bridge to everyone? You would have thought it was Epstein to begin with. You thought that was the guy.
This is a pure hypothetical. I'm not saying this is happening. I'm just giving you the example of a soul-crushing moment. What if you were in a scenario where there was an actor that was so beloved that maybe he'd even played Mr. Rogers, and then suddenly you find out he's been having sex with children on an island?
Mm.
Now, for the tabloids, it's amazing.
Yeah, because they dude, National Enquirer can run with us for years.
How does it change your life?
Probably not much.
For the good of the country?
But what good could it be? What good could it be?
There are people in this country that where for the good of the country has often been used as an excuse not to portray them as they are. Like, I was surprised as hell. It took a comedian to tell everyone what Bill Cosby was doing for 30 years. Because for 30 years, everyone knew in the industry what Bill Cosby was doing. It took a joke of him pointing out that this is what Bill Cosby does and a Me Too movement before suddenly people went, you know what? That guy's kind of a rapist. He's pretty rapey.
Ugh. And just like that.
It's just a disappointment. I'm very rarely disappointed with this administration right now.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But
and there's going to be moments.
That is one area where I'm like, give me a little bit of red meat. I don't eat red meat, but just give me a little bit. I don't need a lot.
Hypothetical red meat. Figurative red meat.
Let's go out with the Osbournes. That makes me happy to end the segment.
Well, it's just, I'd watched this over the weekend.
It was fun, yeah.
It was.
Fun alert.
Yeah, because Ozzy Osbourne, I mean, he's the biggest rock star maybe of all time. And they did that final showing, and Metallica played, and Pantera played, and Tool played, and there's so many bands that played. And then the original lineup of Black Sabbath. And Ozzy, because he's in a wheelchair, I mean, he sat in this throne thing, and he sounded okay. It was more about the experiences, more about the people that were together versus what Ozzy sounded like, because he's in very bad health. So he didn't sound necessarily great. But it was cool to see Ozzy Osbourne singing all the songs that I mean, Crazy Train and Mama, I'm Coming Home, but then all the Black Sabbath hits. Paranoid, they ended the entire concert with Paranoid. But I found it interesting that the Osbournes, the family, were talking about Donald Trump.
Oh, really?
Remember Sharon Osbourne, and I didn't know this. I mean, I recall it when she brought it up. I'd forgotten she was on The Apprentice.
Yes.
They talked about...
Celebrity Apprentice.
Because... the daughter, what is her name? Kelly Osbourne, had been pretty vocal about her dislike of Donald Trump, but she went on to say when they were discussing him as a family, every time I met him, he's pretty nice.
It pains me to actually say this, but every interaction I've ever had with Donald Trump, he's been nothing but a gentleman and nice to me.
When I did the Apprentice with him, he was very supportive of you both because you were both working on your sobriety, and he kept saying well done about the pair of you.
So you've interviewed.
Sorry, darling?
You have interviewed.
Mum did The Apprentice.
For a month.
Oh, of course.
You'd forgotten.
Yeah. And I must say that Melania was lovely.
Yeah, when I met him at the Elton John thing, he looked at me and he went, Ozzy. I was amazed that he knew my name.
Dad, you always say this, but you forget that you're literally the world's most famous rock star.
It's kind of true.
Yeah, but it's
Who's
so
left?
hard. Yeah, it's so hard to understand to me. What he was saying is that I didn't believe that Donald Trump even knew who I was and knew who I was. And that's when his daughter was like, "You're the biggest rock star in the world." But it was funny because Kelly has been vocal about her, not liking Donald Trump per se. And I think it was last year when she was talking about, deporting so many people, and she had some choice things to say about him. But I had to come back and be honest and say, look, he's been nice to us every time. Sharon Osbourne, when we were on the show, he was super nice to me. Ozzy himself saying, I couldn't believe he knew who I was. I mean, when the Osbournes are talking about you, that is a cultural phenomenon that we may never experience again.
I mean, it's been 20 years since it was what it was, and the Osbournes was a fun show.
I never saw an episode of it. Did you watch it?
I watched a handful. It's fun. It was fun to see Ozzy Osbourne,
the king of, or the Prince of Darkness actually being normal.
And he's just a dude in his house trying to figure out the remote control, and a couple of kids that are just whooping his ass.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh my God, they make me so frustrated.
And both of them have gotten sober, as you heard in that. And I in that clip, if you get to see it, you should see how Jack Osbourne is dressed. He's wearing like slacks and a golf shirt.
Nice.
But
he's grown out of the Angus Young look.
Yes.
Everything looked like a toddler.
It was so surprising to see him look like that because I knew how off the rails on the crazy train he was.
So let's see. Bono, Ozzy, Steven Tyler. Like, who are like the remaining like biggest rock stars in the world? We'd say
Eddie Vedder.
Eddie Vedder?
Yeah.
Okay, we got a handful. We're all right.
Dave Grohl's probably the youngest one.
The youngest of that group of rock royalty, if you will.
Yeah.
Brian Johnson,
Good call.
AC/DC.
Yeah.
He's probably in there. Angus Young, definitely in there.
Well, I saw a video of AC/DC playing recently.
It was
wasn't
not good.
No.
People are saying they should cancel their tour. It sounds so bad.
Oh, no. Well,
that's the reason they did that Black Sabbath thing one time.
Yeah.
It was just about people being together.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the greatest presentation of the music that you've ever heard.
That's okay.
But I watched it. It was good. I enjoyed it just because of, again, who was there.
Dude, our guys, especially when it comes to drummers, the physical talent it takes, and how as you get older, like the more complicated the music, that like it gets harder to do that job. Like Phil Collins used to be one of the best drummers in the world, and the dude can't move anymore.
Yeah, he's got crazy arthritis.
Yeah.
He's not able to do it. James Hetfield, we left him out too because he played on that show.
Oh,
too.
no, good call. I can't leave out James Hetfield.
Dude,
from Metallica.
Talking about rock icon for sure. When we come back, paging front office Los, what we told folks all along about COVID is confirmed.
Oh, no.
Yes. Next on Extra.
Wherever you are in Georgia, you can stream Extra 106.3 and crystal clear digital with the all-new Extra 106.3 app. Get Extra's live on-air stream in real time, or go back and listen to all your favorite shows, Neil Bortz, or original podcasts, no matter where you go. Grab the Extra 106.3 app now and start streaming.
Good morning, Atlanta. It's Front Office Los. Let's talk about True Prep. Now, I have a friend of mine. He goes by Mr. Tugglesworth, and he does worry about the crazy things that can happen in this world. And I always tell him, well, there's one way to be ready. It's True Prep. Go to trueprep.com or go to Cobb Parkway in Marietta. It's a one-stop shop for preparedness gear. Now, that's not just when it comes to crazy weather, which we've now seen in Texas. Obviously, we've had some crazy stuff happen here. That's the reason why I keep freeze-dried food. That is my primary reason, so that if I ever lose power, I have any kind of situation, I can keep my family fed. It's amazing what happens to society when you miss a meal. Watch what happens when you miss 2 meals. Things start getting crazy. We don't want to have that happen in our home. But also, if you're an avid outdoorsman and you want to go ahead and hit those trails, well, they have equipment to handle that. Or maybe you're into personal security. That is a big deal with True Prep as well. You can always check out their used guns and gear area over on their website. You can check out their sales and clearance items, and as well, check out their workshops. Every single weekend they have a workshop. They got one coming up actually this upcoming weekend. It's for first-time gun buyers. gun safety, how to store, how to protect, how to clean. These are all important factors that get you ready, and that's what True Prep is all about. Go to truprep.com. That's truprep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow with True Prep.
Advance and protect. What is that in retirement planning? Well, Coach Pete is here to explain advance and protect.
What's the advance and protect strategy? Well, it's a way for you to share and participate in the gains of the market. Not all the gains, by the way. You have to trade. The trade-off is you're not going to get all the gains, but here's what you're trading it off for. You're not getting any of the losses. Therefore, you really are advancing and protecting. Or if the market's down for 3 or 4 years, you're protecting and protecting and protecting. And when it decides to go back up, you're advancing. So if you're protected when down markets and going up in up markets, you really can't lose. And then you turn that lump sum you have into a lifetime income you can never outlive, and now you're in control of your life all the way through.
A comprehensive review with Coach Pete's local trusted advisor, Craig Chandler, can show you how to get in control of your retirement. 800-419-6164. 800-419-6164. Craig Chandler, Chandler Wealth Management, 800-419-6164.
Hey, Atlanta's Mark from the Safe House. I have a question for you. Am I the only person pissed off with the mainstream fake news, liberal judges,
and whiny liberal politicians
who don't realize why Donald Trump is president, and fake safes? And you may wonder, why fake safes? Well, a fake safe is like Joe Biden, cheap and ineffective. A real safe from the Atlanta Safe House is like Donald Trump, tough, effective, and provides peace of mind when you need it the most. So drop by Atlanta Safe House and check out the largest selection of safes in the Southeast and see what a real safe looks like. So go to atlantasafehouse.com.
My name is Patrick, and I'm the Military Outreach Manager at the Warrior Alliance. I served in the U.S. Army as an airborne ranger and deployed to several combat zones in support of the global war on terror. Veterans bring excellence through our work ethic, skills, and civic duty. However, transitioning to civilian life can be difficult, as we all share a loss of purpose when leaving the military. Returning veterans have earned and deserve our support so they can thrive on their journey home. The Warrior Alliance understands the challenge and is helping warriors navigate to success after service. Join us in changing thousands of lives for the better. Donate today at thewarrioralliance.org.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your Georgia headlines for Monday, July 7th. The Cobb County School District is considering a property tax increase. The increase would be due to keeping the millage rate flat at 18.7 mils as property values have increased all across the county. School Board Chair David Chastain said a rollback is unlikely. The board will hold 3 sessions to receive public comments starting July 11th at the board office on Glover Street. 2 Barrow County Sheriff's deputies are being acknowledged for their heroic efforts in confronting the shooter at Appalachia High School last fall. Deputies Chase Boyd and Brandon King will receive the National Association of School Resource Officers Award of Valor in Dallas, Texas today. The Barrow County Sheriff Judd Smith was also recently named Georgia Sheriff of the Year. And the famous Budweiser Clydesdale horses are coming to town. The 8-horse team is making an appearance in downtown Smyrna on Friday as part of Major League Baseball's All-Star Game festivities. Today's weather, mostly sunny, dry, and very hot. Temperatures will reach the mid-90s. More storms are on the way later this week. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne for Extra 106.3.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. I want to play you something, if I could speak. This freaking Dayquil, you would think works a little better than it does, man. It's got me all sideways. I've had a head cold for the last 2 or 3 days.
He's fighting through it.
Can't even speak.
You sure that's not long COVID?
Yeah, that's right.
No,
Dude.
that's what's messing with you.
Yeah, I know.
You got the fog.
Well, no, but maybe so. I did like a little, what is it, the virtual doctor visit? Because my wife's like, it's been going on for a few days. Why don't you just go and, do the doc in the box? And I was like, because I don't want to go over there and sit. I hate it. I despise it. I would rather just, my body heals itself. I'm fine. And this is just enough to make you notice. It's not like I feel horrible. It's not like I'm not going to show up at work or not going to do the things I need to do at home. None of that. It's just annoying, just drainage and all that. So I do the Doc in the Box virtual.
Telehealth.
Yeah, the telehealth, which wasn't all that bad. I'll admit, it was pretty quick. They were on when the appointment was 11:44 yesterday morning. No, I'm sorry, Saturday morning. And she was on at 11:44. The doctor actually spoke to her.
Oddly specific.
Yeah, I don't know why it was that, but it was. And the first question, it's funny you bring up COVID, that's the first question. She was like, have you done a COVID test? I was like, no. Why would I do a COVID test? No. And she was like, okay, well, I guess it wouldn't matter anyway. She was like, and she, she asked me all the things, all the usual questions. And I was like, look, I just got drainage. It's making me cough. That's what I'm trying to heal up. And she's like, here, antibiotic, and you're going to be good.
Yeah.
And so I've been on it for, 24 hours, probably getting close to 48. And I feel like $1 million. I just got to get the, all the nasal stuff. But anyway, the reason I bring all this up is because the things we're learning about COVID is what we expected all along. Front Office Los has been the person beating the drum saying, listen, you have to listen. And so many people didn't. There was a place that the virus was tested, but most likely a place that it was created. And when Lowe says we're not always the good guy, this may be one of those instances. Talking to Judge Napolitano, Jeffrey Sachs, director for the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University. He has some things that he wants to share with you that were hidden by the Biden administration, knowing, and Front Office Los has been on the forefront of this, and now it's undeniable.
COVID was caused by a virus that from the very beginning had telltale signs that it was made in a laboratory.
Right.
And I've studied this very intensively over the last 4 years because I chaired a global commission about these issues. The CIA finally said what is true, which is that this virus came out of a lab. What they didn't tell you, and what's quite important, is that it almost surely was made in a U.S. laboratory.
Oh boy!
Not in a Chinese laboratory. It may have been tested in a Chinese laboratory, but it was made in a U.S. laboratory, probably in the University of North Carolina, by the way, just to mention. We have a lot to learn, but there's a lot of trail about this. It's awful. And it was hidden by the Biden administration. This decision by the CIA director to make this statement is a kind of partial step because it was said that it's, yes, probably out of a lab, but China. Okay, that's convenient. But the truth is it was probably out of a lab made by U.S. scientists and perhaps sent to China for testing. One very good theory is that the Wuhan facility has a colony of a specific kind of bat population that the U.S. scientists wanted to use for testing this new virus because they wanted to see whether these bats in China would be susceptible to this newly concocted virus.
Listen to that. Listen to all the tentacles, all the layers. Like, when you listen to him speak, you can connect all the dots. Like, how are we going to spin this? We created it. Let's blame it on China. When all along it was us. It was us. It was Fauci that was trying to develop this and did. And going back to what you've brought up so many times, Barack Obama said, we can't do this here.
Can't do it here.
But we can do it over there. The crazy part is the connection of North Carolina, which is finally confirmed, which we thought.
EcoHealth Alliance out of North Carolina. That's where the connection. Again, the CIA stepping forward and saying, here's what are the connections that we're finding all this.
Again, because we had earlier.
Peter Daszak, EcoHealth Alliance. Here's where it went. Here's what's going on. Now, I've brought this up before, and I just want you to understand that this is where the best of intentions turns into awful mistakes. We are trying to get to a world where there is not the use of nuclear weapons, because that's the end of everything. That's the end. All done. And so if you ever have a conflict, let's say with another major superpower, the use of nuclear weapons, that's done.
It's the end all be all.
It's end all be all. It's over with. So one of the things that we've tried to do is, how do we engineer bioweapons that are specific to not just DNA, but certain regions, certain people? What is it? Who is it going to affect in a certain way? And that's the future. The future is a bioweapon that defeats your opponent without having to blow up the whole place.
Or even fire a shot.
That's the goal. And so the goal has always been the development of these weapons. What happens when one gets out? And that's what I believe is what happened.
And when that happened back in 2020, to use everybody's favorite Democrat talking point, never let an emergency go to waste. They didn't. Nope. They're like, let's see what we can get away with. Let's see how far we can push people. Let's see what rights they'll give up in fear. Let's see what they'll do when we're telling them, do not come out of your house for 2 weeks.
I was talking to a new friend of mine, and I was going to say, Brant, shout out. Hopefully you're listening to the show.
Brant, what's up, buddy?
One of the things that we were talking about was the amount of propaganda that goes on. And in this case, it was a Ukrainian conflict, but that's part of every single conflict is propaganda on each side. That is, first and foremost, that is modern warfare features propaganda, no matter what. But one of the aspects we also had was when COVID occurred, there was our propaganda and there was the Chinese propaganda. And the Chinese were flat out saying the Americans did this. It's like this is their virus. This is their thing. And we all looked at it and said,
no
come
way.
on, it's a Chinese.
No
come on,
way.
it's the CCP. And I will stand by the fact that I believe that the Chinese were working on something in conjunction with us and it got out. That's what I believe occurred. But it does create that moment where you say, were the Chinese being legitimate about this? And the other theory is that our economy was so hot, we were getting ready to bury the Chinese in so many problems that how do you slow down a world economy where you're being left behind?
Use a bioweapon.
Drop a bioweapon in there. Let's see what happens. So, I mean, there's all these theories.
Yeah,
but
there's 10 million.
It still is, we still get to the point of we had a massive part in this. We funded it. We created it. We are the ones that when Barack Obama said, you're no longer doing this on American soil, it became the job of everyone else who were still involved with gain of function to send it somewhere else and to continue doing it.
How embarrassed is the University of North Carolina, though?
Right now?
Being tied to this. Because I would think this is going to cause issue with enrollment, just their reputation as a university, as a group of people that are saying, yeah, we're willing to work on bioweapons here.
Like,
come on, sign up.
Like the University of Chicago. University of Chicago has a special place in all of history because underneath the football stadium was the initial development of the Manhattan Project. Mm-hmm. It's like they're working on nuclear weapons. I was like, so that's what the reputation of the university is. You wonder about what the reputation of University of North Carolina would ever be if this is what was strictly associated with them.
Let's see how much money they start putting into Michael Jordan posters. And Dean Smith.
Come fly with me.
Exactly right.
Let's do this way.
How do we keep the attention off of this and keep it on the really positive everybody loves Jordan thing?
But if you ever listened, there was a handful of people that were all telling the truth about this stuff, and they all felt like they were silenced, and I was listening to them on a regular basis. Daniel Horowitz, who works with the Blaze, he was routinely, for 4 years, having these people on that were telling you about the trails of where the money was going and how it was being funded. And they were all treated like they were kooks. Like they were just crazy people.
Well, we were too.
Yeah. I remember the caller, you're going to get people killed.
Yes, I do.
It's like, how do you feel now?
Yeah, looking back. Probably not as confident as they once were.
Again,
especially seeing it.
I joke around all the time. I was taking my health advice from a guy like Peter McCullough, the most published doctor in the industry when it comes to cardiologists in American history. You were listening to Rachel Maddow. Which one of us was crazy?
Yeah, right. Or you were listening to...
I'm listening to Pierre Corey, who's like on the front lines of treating this.
And you're listening to Anderson Cooper or
you're
George Stephanopoulos.
Yes. You're listening to George Stephanopoulos.
Get out of here, dude. Never listen to those guys. Why would you ever? And as we had the cratering numbers for CNN and MSNBC, I think people got the message. People have figured out who to listen to and who they shouldn't. When we continue, Jasmine Crockett is not a dumb woman. Or at least not as dumb as she sounds in this next clip we'll play for you. As we end the show, Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra and Extra 106.3.
The Morning Extra on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM.
Hey, Atlanta, it's Los. Let's talk about Toro and where do you get your Toro motor? You do that over at Howard Brothers, of course. Now, you're probably dealing with what I'm dealing with. We're getting a lot of rain. The grass is taking off. As we get through June, as we're now into July, you got to keep that yard looking sharp for the remainder of the summer. You don't want to be that person who just, let's say you're just struggling a little bit compared to the rest of your neighbors. Get yourself a Toro. Go over to Howard Brothers. They can get you hooked up and it'll last you. What's one of the best part about it. When you work with Howard Brothers, you're going to have some professionals that not only can show you how that Toro mower works, but also how to maintain it so it stays solid for years to come. Just want to let you know, just in case you were curious, the grass is always greener when you take care of it with Toro and with Howard Brothers.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sports headlines for Monday, July 7th. The Atlanta Braves were swept at home by the Baltimore Orioles. Over the weekend, the team is off today before starting the final 6 games before the All-Star break. All 6 on the road, beginning tomorrow night with the Braves in Vegas to play the Athletics. Around the National League East, the Washington Nationals have fired manager Dave Martinez, along with club president Mike Rizzo, as the team is looking for a fresh start. Martinez won a World Series as the manager of the team back in 2019. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Enthusiastic and efficient, the GLC SUV offers turbo hybrid power, a 9-speed automatic transmission that puts passing power at your fingertips, and perfect proportions. The GLC's flowing lines and precise edges are smooth to the wind, rugged in the rough, and elegant everywhere. Get an exceptional offer on the 2025 Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 SUV. Just $599 per month for 36 months with $5,703 due at signing, exclusively from RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this vehicle and many other models during the Mercedes-Benz Dream Day sales event at RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, extended through July 31st. Special lease rate available only to qualified customers exclusively from Mercedes-Benz Financial Service through RBM of Atlanta Sandy Springs through July 31st, 2025. Excludes tax, tag, title, and Georgia Lemon Law fees. Contact RBM of Atlanta for details on this and other exciting offers. Visit us at rbmofatlanta.com or call us at 770-390-0700 for details.
Hey, this is John Flading. I'm the president and owner of ATL Turf Co. We are a family-owned, operated, independent local company. We have over 15 years of artificial grass design, installation, and sales experience. From premium artificial lawns and backyards, custom putting greens, sports fields, hardscape, drainage. We do both residential and commercial. If you can dream it, we can build it. Just go to atlturfco.com to schedule an appointment.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 3 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffers from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. We provide testosterone replacement therapy, the P-shot, and treatment for ED, PE, and Peyronie's disease. There's not just one therapy that can solve these complex issues. When you visit our clinic, you're going to see me me. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. 404-777-1911. Total Body Therapy of Georgia. 404-777-1911. Online at tbtofga.com.
Extra 106.3 is live on your ride home with a Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder from 3 to 6 p.m.
And on this day in history, it's 1905, and again, I find this amazing. Apache Indian Chief Geronimo drives a Locomobile Model C automobile as part of a big roundup of a National Editorial Association convention in 1905. Geronimo driving a car in 1905? I thought Geronimo was like 1780 or something. I mean, wait a minute.
The Kimmer Show on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. As we wrap up the show, the mistake we want you to never make is to think the other side is dumb, because they're not. I think we described it well, the mechanism, the extent that Barack Obama went to when he said, quote, "We're going to screw Donald Trump." I mean, that is work. That is effort. And though it's despicable, it's not because he's a dumb man. He knew exactly what he was doing and knew exactly what he needed to do.
He was rubbing his hands together saying, part of the plan.
Yes.
He's just rubbing his hairless cat.
Yes, that's right. Tapping his fingers as they're closed together. His hands are closed together. When it comes to Jasmine Crockett, she is not a dumb woman. There's no doubt in my mind she's not a dumb woman. Or is not as dumb as this piece of audio would have you believe that she is. Listen to her as she slams Trump's deportations.
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like, that is absolutely insane. So, yes, all I got to say is y'all need to get these fools out of here.
If they were to randomly start throwing people in our country.
That's what
every one of them did.
That's what happened, baby girl.
Empty out the asylums.
That's right.
That's what they did.
That's exactly what they did.
She's playing a character. And I guess the part that's troublesome, this is where the Democrat Party has gone. And that's not troublesome for me. It's an indication of what's going on. We are basically 20 years removed from listen to how he sounds, look at the crease in his slacks, Barack Obama. Like we are that removed from 2004, a guy who makes an appearance on the stage at the Democrat National Convention and the rest of America going, uh-oh, that guy's going to be a factor moving forward.
Yeah, he's charismatic. He's just well-spoken, just smooth as silk. He's somebody who looked like it'd be cool to hang out with, even if you didn't agree with his politics.
20 years later, you have Jasmine Crockett pretending to be a black woman from the streets. She was raised in some of the finest neighborhoods and went to some of the finest schools in the area. And yet, this is her portrayal now of what wins.
Yeah.
And what's going to motivate the black voter. She's playing a character. It's bad.
This is me.
Like, I'm not afraid of Jasmine Crockett. I'm like, please bring me more Jasmine Crockett. I'm afraid of Barack Obama.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm afraid of somebody who's smooth and charismatic. That bothers me. That worries me.
AOC is actually a little more concerning because she knows the part that she's playing. She knows the part that she's trying to make you believe that she is and what she's doing. And people will listen to her. You're seeing it over and over. You're seeing people listen to her. She worries me a little bit. Jasmine, not so much.
No. Again, they're playing these characters. You know, AOC is essentially a plant. I'm the one who was picked and selected to play this role, and I'm from the Bronx, and I came up the hard way. It's like, no, you didn't. You're Sandy Cortez. You're Sandy Cortez.
I'm not sure I'm buying all that.
I mean, if Tug was to pretend, like, if anyone's ever read Pygmalion, okay, that's way out there. How about we go a little bit different? My Fair Lady. My Fair Lady is the idea is that we can take a woman from the streets who is improper and make her proper. We can pass her off as proper. If you want to know another version, trading places from the 1980s.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy.
We can take a homeless guy off the streets and turn him into a New York Stock Exchange broker.
Yeah.
All right. Those are all the same, basically, the story, just told differently in different times. If I was to take Dalton Tug and try and pass him off as Buckhead royalty,
that'd be tough.
Okay.
But I've not been trained to do it.
But I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was to try and pretend I'm like blue blood, Harvard educated, here's where he comes. You know, he's actually from Spanish royalty. Right? The minute I start like picking at my fingernails, you're going to go, that ain't right.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
totally wrong. This is what you have going on the Democrat side. AOC is not what she's pretending to be.
But she's good at playing the part.
And her constituents know.
Yeah.
That's why whenever she
They're
goes
learning.
back to that area in New York, they lose their minds. And
they're learning.
It's going to be, I think it'll be kind of a litmus test with Jasmine Crockett. Because as much as they're pointing at her and being like, man, this is somebody, she's a fighter. Now, it's got to be more than that. And as long as it isn't more than that, I'm more than comfortable with it being Jasmine Crockett.
Zoran Mandani, too. Because now we've learned over the weekend that this dude presented himself as Asian and African American when he was applying to colleges. Anything but. But it just goes to show you what they will do whatever it takes to look a certain way, to act a certain way, to get to a certain place, to be able to control your life.
So my daughters, when they fill out their college education, like little applications, and they do the whole, I'm going to mark down like Asian, I'm going to mark down Hispanic, and let's see what else I can mark in here.
But that's right.
Now, the funny part is when they're going to get on campus and you're like, why they got blonde hair and green eyes?
That's
It's
right.
like, uh-oh.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. What is right about them is that all of
It
that
actually
is true.
fits. It's
all
actually true. Totally fine.
With Mamdani, it's not.
None of it.
It's not even close.
None of it.
It's like it's all. It's no different than Elizabeth Warren saying I'm Native American. No, you're not.
Well, they said that my grandmother had high cheekbones.
Right, because that's all it takes.
And that's
all it takes in your Native American. I love it.
Apparently, that's all it takes. But yeah, these are people that are playing characters, and you have to be. Here's the issue that you run into. You have to be smart to play a character. It's also impossible to play a character all the time. It's why actors and actresses actually have their own personalities. Now, I don't think that Tom Cruise is walking around as Ethan Hunt every day.
No, right.
It's Mission Impossible. Here's who I am. This is what I'm doing. It's like, that doesn't happen.
Or why Jim Carrey, when filming Man on the Moon, submerged himself into being Andy Kaufman, because he wasn't. He wanted to live as Andy Kaufman.
I'm going to do all of his antics.
Portray him at all the time. He did all of his interviews, when he did the late night shows, when Dave Chappelle brings up the time he got to meet him, and he never broke character. Because for that time, for that filming, he wanted to be another person. And wasn't.
And then you get the moments where the Jasmine Crockett's of the world, like when she breaks character, I wonder if that's amongst her colleagues, if that's with her family.
Yeah. Has to be.
And you know what it reminds me of? If you go back 20 years, do you guys remember Chappelle's show when they would have, what was it? Who was the character?
Ashley Larry?
Yeah.
Oh, Little John.
Little John. I was like, little.
Yeah, lives in Milton.
Okay. The funny thing about Little John, how they would portray him, is they would ask him questions in an interview, and he would that's all he would say.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What? And then he would have this moment where he would suddenly go, well, I've been considering these situations. And
like
then he would break character, and he's a professor, and then he would go right back into character. It's like, that's what I imagine Jasmine Crockett has those moments.
God, it has to be, dude. But that's what the whole party is, and that's why they're at 19% approval. That's why they're at 19% of people saying, yeah, I believe them, because nobody buys the characters anymore. For a long time, they had a whole infrastructure that sold the characters, that sold you who these people are. And it turned out not to be the case, and now you can see through it all. And that's the interesting thing for me. They don't have that safety net anymore.
I really think that the Joe Biden debate moment is what changed so much. I've said that was the death of today's media. They spent 4 years telling you he was brilliant, and by the time that occurred and then they lost, I think a lot of people just lost faith in it. They were like, you lied to me. Like,
yeah.
It's really hard to get over being lied to in that way.
And that's when the whores come in.
And that's right.
Oh.
That's when the whores come in.
That's right. After all the lies are shown, after people have given up, they don't want to believe it anymore. And let me tell you, it takes a while. After you've been lied to like that, it takes a long time for you to ever trust again. And that would be even for Donald Trump. I'm sure they're in a wait and see. Even if they voted for Donald Trump, they're wait and see. Let's wait and see if he does what he says he does or is going to and said he's going to. Now, pretty quickly, they found out that he has. Pretty quickly, he's done everything he said he would, from closing the border to creating an economy that everybody can be successful in. So they're learning pretty quick, but I would imagine they're not quick to trust. I wouldn't be. All you have to do is be lied to a few times, and that trust level goes away.
I'm always in wait and see mode, and then I can be happy.
That's right. I'm in wait and see mode too. Mine's a little different. Expect the worst, hope for the best. It's not a healthy way to live, but it works for me. Anyway, that'll do it for us. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you more than you'll ever know. We need you more than you'll ever know. Tomorrow, another stellar show set up. Talkmaster Neil Bortz joins us. Be sure to listen for that. If you ever miss him, you can get him on the Extra 106.3 app. So for Jure and Front Office Los, my name is Tug. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Live and local news talk continues at 3 p.m. with Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder. It's the Kimmer Show, only on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.